used. I think in the way I'm at least trying to use it, it is not that at all. That's all I'm saying. But I want other people to be able to speak, please. I'm not trying to monologue.
Yeah. And for any kind of debate, Mark, you start off with a basic set of definitions to start discussing on.
Wait, I want to confront JR and Mark.
Hello, Republican.
Okay, Mark and JR, are you okay with the government doing vaccine mandates?
Yes.
Like COVID vaccine mandates.
I already just told you. Why are we going back over this again?
We have a whole bunch of mandates.
Wait, what did you tell him?
No.
We first started off with the whole COVID vaccine and was basically like, do you think that the government should be able to force people to do it? I said no.
No, I'm not talking about you, Malibu. I'm talking about JR and Mark.
I said yes.
So
we already have a whole bunch of.
So the JR, then you're pro-choice said.
Sure, on a totally different topic.
That's not pro-choice.
No, hold on. No,
totally different topic.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
What's your justification for pro-choice?
On this topic, benefit to society.
No. What's your justification for
I'll see you later. Thank you.
Pro-choice is not the same over
No, that's not what I said. What is your justification for pro-choice?
Women should have a choice of whether they want to start a family or not.
And why is that the case?
Oh, it's a totally different topic than the three topics we're already doing.
I understand. Why is that the case?
Republic was trying to talk to me on something. I would like to let him finish.
Hold on. Do you use bodily autonomy?
Before you jump in.
Do you use bodily autonomy? Yeah, because if you use bodily autonomy, this is a contradiction. Regardless.
No, you can have different positions for different, but you can't?
So hold on. No. So when it comes to bodily autonomy,
That's crazy,
I'm going to explain to you how to.
Hold on, mute. I can explain it to you really fast.
No, hold on. Bodily autonomy is
hold on. Let me do it. I can do it really fast in like a sentence.
Sure.
I'm pro-choice for women having babies. I'm not pro-choice or for the death penalty. There you go. There's two different situations. I have two different
Wait,
states.
so you're pro-choice for women having babies? Now you're being incoherent.
That's not incoherent. They can choose for the baby or not.
So hold on. So I asked for your justification of pro-choice. You haven't given a justification. Like literally. So one, I'm going to explain to you something, okay? So the question asked of you was a vaccine mandate. So pro-lifers that use bodily autonomy, JR, when it comes to a vaccine mandate, is not in contradiction because our stance is specifically anti-abortion. Now, if you use bodily autonomy within pro-choice and saying the government is a coercive force that is illegitimate to create a law to govern what you do or not do with your body, and then you're for a government vaccine mandate unconsensually, this is a contradiction, homie.
Yes, that's why I didn't do any of that.
So you don't care about women's bodily autonomy when it comes to pro-choice?
No, I didn't use any of the words used.
Well, I'm asking you, do you argue for bodily autonomy?
No. Back to Republican?
Sure. Okay, so how do you justify then pro-choice?
Are you going to let him speak?
I think I'm articulating it a little better. Republican, do you agree with what I said?
Yeah, but Republicans should be able to stand on his own 2 feet. Wouldn't you admit to that?
Then why can't JR stand on his own 2 feet?
On different topics.
Because they were already having a conversation and you jumped in.
Everyone was talking.
It was kind of.
I'm just gonna call this a dodge.
We're gonna call this like you like to jump in the middle of the conversation and then call it a dodge because you didn't get answered right when you wanted it to be. So it was kind of like a discussion between the
I mean, JR, ever since I've been live, he's been hating for like 3 years straight, and he can never engage. So I get it.
Someone else.
Scooter,
I get it. It's okay.
Scooter, you just like to consider it a win when you literally jump in. It's like it's
no. I was expounding upon the current conversation.
I'm
You're
pretty
the one.
sure
it wasn't with you, Scooter. It wasn't with you. I think he tried to abide you by giving you like a very, very brief response. You thought he was being disingenuous or not engaging.
I never said he was disingenuous, and I never thought
he just wanted to continue with
Sarah, I expanded upon the current conversation being.
He doesn't want you to. He wants to continue continue his
Wait.
1v1 with or his
And we
conversation with
also now
Republican.
have 4 or 5 other individuals who are saying just
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
had a
You,
conversation.
Malibu, Sarah, and JR talk last. 4 other individuals interrupting a conversation because JR is scared to answer a
No,
question.
JR was actively engaged in a dialogue with Republican, and you interjected.
Anyway,
And then
Republican.
you accused him of dodging.
Actually, no. I waited until you and him were done or someone else, and then I
For a second.
interjected.
It wasn't really done. He was just kind of waiting for
No.
a response from Republican, but you decided to be the first.
and I didn't respond.
Just mute for a second.
So,
Hey,
can you
Republican.
guys actually engage, or are you just here to bitch and whine like babies?
Oh my god.
So,
Yes, please stop.
can we actually engage, or are you here to bitch?
He's engaging with Republican, not you. Wait your turn.
Wait, sure, Sarah. We'll go at it again. Sure.
Okay, well, how about you? Okay, well then, since we already understand that JR wants to talk to Republican, then let's let that happen. How about that?
Well, I'm
Wait, so it's
No.
not an open panel?
too late
Okay.
for that. But let me say something to him before I go. Oh my gosh, Republican, follow me, and I would love to catch up and do this a little bit later. Okay, I'm gonna go talk to my kids.
Yeah, dodge. Bye, buddy.
See you later, man.
Go cope.
But JR, thanks for coming up.
You asked me.
Let this coping. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't think that a portion of the panel agrees with you on that one. I mean,
Well, I don't
you
care
can
what
kind
majority of the
just jump-
panel says, Green.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, but you don't follow natural decorum of people in general. So I would say
Wait,
that
Green.
makes
What's the
sense.
objective standard of
perhaps.
a? Hold on, Green. You've
We're
changed your
not doing. We're
position
not. We're
25
not doing. We're
times
not
since you
doing
started
this. We're not
debating.
doing this. I'm calling
Yeah,
you.
I don't think you're smart enough to have the
conversation. It doesn't matter what you think of me. So that's really that's
Then
your
why are you
problem,
telling
not
me what
mine.
you think of me?
So
Can we
again,
actually get back to the
no, I'm giving
conversation?
you what happened. You jumped into the middle of their discussion and tried
In
to
an
insert
open
yourself.
panel, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
an open panel where we were actually allowing 2 people to have a back and forth for a
Wait,
time.
hold on, Green.
you
Did I
wanted to make
expound
it all
upon?
about
Hold on.
you.
Let me talk to
Like you
Republican.
always do. You jump in.
Wait,
you
are we here to
you.
bitch and whine, or are we
It's
here
just
to-
the
how important
strategy,
you
though. Like,
are,
It's
and
not the
then you go and
strategy.
you
Sarah.
it is.
insult
Hold on.
It's the
people 'cause you're a
strategy,
rude
Scooter.
prick.
It's
No, it's
And
not
the
the
fact that
strategy.
Bro,
everyone
He
caught
did
on
ask
to
me
your
a
style.
question.
Nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, you guys are just bitching. You're not giving us.
No, it's
not
just very
relevant
clear that
anymore.
this is a pattern.
I mean,
And I
you're
think-
just
Wait,
not relevant
Sarah, it's not
anymore.
very clear it's a pattern. I debunked all of your positions that you
If
still
you-
are.
Again, so far, our
consistently-
point is that you jump into people's conversations.
Hey,
you
Sarah,
put
do you
yourself
remember
to
saying
be the
what's wrong with
center of the
special
conversation, and now you are once again doing it. So
No,
again,
so hold
thanks
on,
for
Green.
being you. And
Yeah,
you
so are we
yourself.
going to overtalk? So let's be clear. Republican asked a question when it came to COVID vaccine mandates. So when I interjected and expanded upon the reductio of
wasn't
COVID
to
mandates,
you.
yeah, I like
wasn't
how you're interrupting
to
Sarah
you.
while being.
But it
Yeah,
was
that's-
to
I'm
me.
going to interrupt because you interrupt. So
Is this
that's
a
how that
leftist
works.
tactic? Malice, can you mute them so I can finish a point? I have not interrupted any of them.
Go ahead and you're gonna.
You've interrupted me about 5 times.
Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
so you guys are just going to
One
be
at
more
a- guys, one at a time.
I have not interrupted a single one of them.
You've interrupted me.
I did not.
Wait, I'm pretty sure that when the discussion was happening, that JR was actually asking Republican, and then that was not a question for everyone.
No, that's
why-
absolutely
Well,
incorrect.
Wait, I'm sorry. You didn't like any people interrupting, and then you did it again. Wow, real
Well,
funny.
you're saying something
Okay,
incorrect.
but here we go again. We're interrupting. But anyway, so what I was saying is
Yeah,
that
I'll correct you
neither
later.
Sarah nor Green nor Mark responded because we all knew that it was not for us. So it was for Republican. But
No,
then
it
you
was
decided-
for
Okay,
me.
can we get back to the debate, or are you guys
But
here to
no.
give your feeling?
Well, I mean, you're sitting here trying to.
Okay, can we?
Like,
That-
Can we
is
do
just
one at a
like-
time, please?
Malice, does the
Thank you.
panel say bitching, or does it say we're having a debate?
We're saying you're steamrolling, and
Yeah.
It's not
not a-
steamrolling, Sarah.
Yeah, it's
No,
not
I
a good
was
way to-
asking.
Yeah, so I'm gonna finish a point. So yeah, all you're doing is crying.
Let's let
So
him
cope.
finish his point,
No.
guys.
Cope. Your buddy JR left. Fucking cope. I'm not here to listen to your guys' fucking feelings. I'm not a psychologist. Let's be clear.
No,
So
but you are spoiled
Republican,
with
because
shit.
Malibu couldn't
I
even
mean, you're a little
articulate it
bitch. I mean, that's
correctly.
really what the
I like how
problem
I'm
is.
talking, Green.
You're
You're
a bitch.
incorrect.
So I'm
You
gonna
changed your
interrupt
stance
you every
20
time
times.
that you talk now.
So I'm gonna finish
That's
a
my
single
job, is
point
just to own your
without
ass.
you
I'm
being a
gonna
hypocrite.
interrupt you all the time.
Green, let him finish
I'm
his
literally
point.
like,
Jeez.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
literally
Are
one
you
out of.
upset?
Hold on, let's be
Oh,
clear. I'm the
Scooter.
only one on this panel that
Bitch
expanded
boy is
upon the
upset.
current conversation.
No, I'm sorry, Scooter.
Why do you think? Why, Scooter, why
He's
do you
crying
think
like
you
a
do
baby.
this? Why do you think you feel the need to do this?
Wait, Sarah, can I explain to you? Can you listen, or are you gonna talk over?
Yeah,
me?
that's why I asked you a question.
Yeah, so Sarah,
you
let's
could
be
respond and
clear.
listen.
I
Why do you do this?
interjected off a question and expanded upon that questioning to go down a reductio that was relevant to the current
But
conversation.
the 2 people he
not
asked the
bitching and
question
whining
to
because your
had
buddy
not
had a rage quit.
responded.
That would be a fair fair way to respond if somebody were asking you a question. I'm asking why you felt the need to interject when the question wasn't
because
directed
that's how
to you.
conversations go.
No, that's not how they go.
Yes,
Typically,
it
when
is.
two people are engaged in conversation, it's with one another. It's not an open.
Wait,
it's not an open
no,
conversation
Sarah.
for others to
Republican
interject.
made a point, okay, and I expanded upon that point and asked the line of questioning. Regardless, I was still on topic. And even Republican asked the question, why are you against COVID mandates? And I kept it on COVID mandates and gave you reasoning how it's not a contradiction within the pro-life movement,
That's
and
not
how
the
it is
issue.
a contradiction for pro-choicers that argue bodily autonomy. So regardless of how you feel, the questioning and reductio I went down was relevant to the
That's
topic.
not the
And
issue.
you guys are the only one that are
No.
constantly derailing the conversation.
No, that's
So
not the
I
issue.
don't know if you're just coping because your friend had to like leave
No,
and rage quit.
it's
But
really
if you
just
want to have a debate, the topic is why are you pro-choice? Sarah?
you could be making
Why are you
totally
pro-choice?
listen, you could be making cogent, salient points. You could have a tremendous amount of value in this conversation, and everything you're saying could be
Yeah, I
valid.
asked you a question why you're pro-choice.
You want to do, well, what you're doing though is you're not respecting like the kind of like the social contract here.
Wait, Sarah, I've been watching lives and supporting pro-lifers all day while at
That's
work,
great.
while you were live not working and interrupting conversations. So, Sarah, you can stop being a hypocrite because I support pro-life and I'm not even up here debating.
We're
live.
not even talking about your stance
if you want to talk about
now
it,
we're gonna. So
I
now we're
would be.
let's actually have the debate. Why
I
are
would
you
be
pro-choice?
reacting the same way, even
Sarah,
if
debate or leave, bro. Debate or leave. Debate or leave. I don't want a woman prattle.
Scooter, why are we trying to bring in jobs? Like this is so like.
I didn't bring in jobs, bro.
You did though. You literally just said I was at work and you were.
Can we, Malice, you're the host. Are we
did.
here to debate or not debate?
Like now we're just gonna lie on.
Wait, no.
Yes,
I said
I would
was
like
at
to get
work
back
supporting
onto the
people.
debate.
I would too.
When
Argue
you
about
cannot
Scooter
convince
later.
me, cry and fucking cope. This is what coping fucking looks
All
like.
right. So, all right. Who pro-choice wants to give their stance?
None of them. They're here to
Babe,
fucking
do you want to
cry.
give your stance?
Well, actually, because I'm not pro-choice, Scooter.
Okay,
Give
we'll
your
let
stance.
Babe tell her stance.
I'm pro-choice because I think that abortion is a medical procedure and we don't have like it should be decided between you and your doctor. It shouldn't be anybody else's business. And like I just like there's a lot of wrong cause which has been proved in the past, which is why Roe v. Wade was put in place. When abortion is not allowed, it causes a lot more problems.
Okay. So, who is it okay if I have this debate, or are we still coping on that, or does someone else want to have the debate?
Wait, Scooter.
You're bringing it up.
I'm pro-choice, and I think
we
both
moved
sides
on.
are hypocrites.
Cool.
Like Jesus, like we moved on, and you bring it up again.
No, I was asking, can I have this debate? It's a respectful question. You fucking
I don't
degenerate.
know who debates me back, honestly.
So I guess I'll take it. So, Babe, what are human rights? I'm gonna call you Trin, not Babe.
No, that's
Trin,
fine.
what are human rights?
Human rights are like the life, liberty, and freedom.
Okay, and where do they come from?
From being a human.
Okay, so if rights are granted by being human, okay, then how are you justifying the human rights infringement from the mother to the child by taking a voluntary action and unaliving them?
Well, I just don't think that the fetus has more rights than the woman carrying the fetus.
So what, I don't know what you mean by more rights. We would just say they're equal. They both have a right to life, correct?
I mean,
They're both
no,
human.
I kind of feel like you're giving the fetus special rights because no living being has the right to use my body to sustain life. So why are we allowing the fetus to sustain life?
Because you're doing a presupposition here that's incorrect. So once again, you said human rights are things that humans have. So does the mother have a human right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one right. Okay, so is the fetus human?
It's of the human species.
So it is human, so therefore it has a right to life as well. So 1 and 1 does not equal a greater, correct? If you have one with a human right to life and another with the right to life, 1 and 1 is not arguing one is greater. Would you agree?
I mean, I guess.
Okay, so if that's the case, then the fetus has the right to life. The mother has the right to life. So what's the justification in voluntarily ending this life?
Because it's like, because it's my, like, if a woman doesn't want to give birth, if a woman doesn't want to be pregnant, she shouldn't have to. Like,
Why?
because it's her body. Nobody should have to be pregnant if they don't want to.
Okay. So are you saying that someone that doesn't want to be a parent can just unalive their child?
No, because that's not the same thing.
Wait, what's different? If we have an unborn child to where this mother doesn't want the parental role, hold on, I'm asking.
Child.
So we have a unborn child to where the mother doesn't want to take care of it, and then she has a voluntary action to unalive it. Why can't you do the same for like the born child?
Because that child's already born.
Well, that's circular. So I'm asking you for the justification to why she cannot voluntarily take the child who was born to life. So you have to give the justification on how birth equals that you can like now take resources without consent from the mother.
I personally would give moral consideration to that being, to the born child, before I gave moral consideration to the fetus, where I do not give moral consideration to the fetus.
Wait, so if we're just going to use moral consideration, let's say I give more moral consideration to my mom, but I give you no moral consideration. Is it now justified if like I see you as aid and I want to hold a legal punishment? So I say like, yeah, this is okay to do because I don't value Trin. So therefore you guys could do whatever you want, SA her, unalive her. You could do whatever you want because I don't value Trin. Would you say that any action done upon you is like justified or unjustified?
That's unjustified.
Unjustified? But like, why? I don't value you. So
to human, like not human, to you're making the comparison
to a non-human.
I just don't really think that like you can really compare a fetus and a born person whenever you're talking about.
I can't hear you.
Republican, just mute.
Trin, you keep saying like there's a difference between the born and unborn, but you have to give a moral difference between the two. So what's going to be the moral difference?
Well, for example, most people who get abortion usually get it really early term, and early term fetuses can't even survive outside the woman's womb. It's not even like, it's not viable outside the woman's womb. So why does it matter if I end it?
Yeah, so you didn't answer my question. So descriptive, okay, so descriptive differences of a born child is going to be the location. It's going to be clearly outside the womb compared to inside. The descriptive claims are going to be it's more developed, okay? But I'm asking you for a moral difference of unaliving the born child compared to the unborn child. So descriptive differences are not moral differences. So you have to give the difference between the two. If someone unalives voluntarily a born child, you would hold a legal punishment. But why wouldn't you hold that inside the womb on a moral level? What is going to be your difference between the two? Descriptive differences are not the same as moral differences. Sure.
You see as everybody's pregnancy as 100% healthy. Do you think that every single woman has a 100% healthy pregnancy?
Nothing's 100%.
Okay. So if a baby has no lungs, no heart, has no fluid around it, that is 100% not healthy, or is that healthy to you?
Healthy or unhealthy, if this child doesn't have lungs or other things, well, the baby is probably experiencing things that are negative to itself, sure.
Okay.
I don't know why that's a justification if we have like a human who's experiencing negative things, like, I don't know, develop like a genetic condition, or like if a lung collapse, or like a negative implication occurs that's outside of someone's voluntary control, that now we can use those negative implications that developed naturally and then use that to like unalive born children. I mean,
Can you
clearly
live without a
disagree with
brain?
this principle.
Can you live without a brain inside a woman?
You can, yes. The brain's developed. I think it's between 4 and 6 weeks. You're gonna start to see EEG waves within the brain. So before 4 weeks, it's already alive. So therefore, yes, this human can live without a brain. This would biologically and descriptively follow.
What about a spine that's so twisted up?
Yeah, people with scoliosis also live. Yeah.
So medical doesn't matter, right? It's
I
not
don't know
up.
what you mean by medical doesn't matter.
So medical basically said you don't want the woman to have a medical decision, right?
I think that, yeah, women should have medical decisions just like men, but when those medical decisions are gonna voluntarily take another human life, we're gonna deem these medical conditions to be unjustified. Like, are you gonna be for euthanasia, which is a medical condition that a parent can consent to if their child has like a disability, or they just want the child unalived? Would you support the medical decision between the woman and the doctor to have medically assisted suicide for like a born child? Would you say
I'm
that's
not their
acceptable
doctor, so it is up to them, not my decision.
for born children,
Yes.
even with a disability?
What's life support?
Wait, so you're telling me a child with a disability of Down syndrome at 3 years old, you're saying that their mother or father or whoever the guardianship, whatever their guardianship of the child is, they can go to a doctor and have this doctor give them medically assisted suicide to this child?
If the child is not well, like on a bed, on tubes and everything like that, it is up to the parents' decision.
Okay, and you want to know
Can I
something,
ask what
Stormy, about
gives
how
the
far?
fetus more rights
Green,
to the
you
mother's
complain about
internal organs?
interjecting in a 1v1.
No,
but
I was
you're
simply
doing
adding to the conversation like you do.
I did that, but now
No,
you're
I
not
know,
gonna be
but
a
now I'm adding
hypocrite
to it as well.
because
so
you're interrupting my
why do you
line
have a
of
problem?
questioning right
No,
now.
I'm entering my own thought now, like you did.
Dude, the fucking
I thought that
left
was
is
a question.
hypocrite
I
as
thought that
long
was
as
an
that is
open-ended
just fucking
question.
astonishing.
So
Go
I
ahead.
thought that was an
women
open-ended
should not
question.
have the
Go ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
It's not. So you're not going to answer my question now? Okay.
I couldn't hear you.
You conceded.
I conceded because I couldn't hear you. Shut up. Shut
Ron,
up.
go ahead.
Shut up.
So
Ron.
All right, Stormy. Anyways, so
it's
you
just Storm,
realize
not
within this
Stormy.
ideology, hold on. You realize within this ideology that, like, when it came to euthanasia, do you even know the history and the context of when they started applying euthanasia within societies?
Yeah, in the 1900s.
Sure. What about 1940s, to where we had people that had undesirable characteristics within children that they did not deem to fit what is needed within society or what society ought to have? So if their child had like disabilities, if their child were Jewish, they commonly use these things to apply euthanasia to unalive their child. So are you telling me, Stormy, within your argument, if we
It's
have
just
a white
Storm. Don't call me Stormy,
Storm,
please.
okay, either way, Storm. So you're telling me if we have a white mother who has a black child and the black child has characteristics.
Why do you always bring up race?
I don't bring up race. It's
You just
leftism
did.
that does that. No.
You just
The
did. You
reason I'm
said
doing this has nothing to do with race. We'll take it out. Hold on, Storm. Do you even know what logical principle I'm trying to contest you with right now?
yeah, the race
What?
factor.
No. We're talking about undesirable characteristics to voluntarily unalive a child. Race is not anything to do with it. You're the one that fixated on it. So
I did not say
I'm
anything about
asking
race.
you for a logical principle here, so I want you to engage within the reductio. So within my hypothetical, we
Did
have a
I say
white
anything
mother,
about race? No, I didn't.
and okay, sure, it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
No, because we're talking about undesirable characteristics.
Tap the screen, 5K likes, guys.
So stop fixating on race and actually answer the hypothetical. So one, we have a white mother who has a black child.
Yep,
She
there
views
we
the
go with the
blackness-
race.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. She views the blackness of the child to be something undesirable. So she goes to a doctor and says, I do not want my black child, so I want it euthanized. Would you say she's justified in doing so?
There's the race factor, so no.
Sure, it's testing your principle regardless. So go ahead.
Or hey, what about if the mom is pregnant with a little boy, but she wants a little girl? How about in that scenario?
The Chinese way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another race factor right there.
No, it's not. It's
No,
boy and
that's-
girl, bro. What?
Male, female.
Male, female.
What's-
Yeah, that has nothing to do
Now
with
going
race.
into the eugenics problem.
And then 20-something
No.
years down the road, they figured out maybe they needed some girls.
Well,
Because
regardless.
in Chinese, there's the girl. They kill the boy or they kill the girl off because they need more
Unalive,
boys.
please.
Unalive.
Can you use unalive? Thanks.
Unalive. So what's wrong with unaliving girls in China
What?
and not here?
Well, I'm not just saying, and like you didn't like the fact that he was using like race, so that's why I was just jumping in with like, okay, instead of using race, we'll use a different characteristic or trait that could still work with the hypothetical here. That was all it was. I'm not saying like specifically in China. I'm just.
But that is what.
Yeah, she's here
in
to
China.
fixate. She's not here to contest with her principle. She's just telling you how she feels on constructing our hypotheticals for us rather than her logical principle being contested. Oh, I don't like the word race. Oh, I don't care about people in China. You're not
Every
answering the
pro-life
hypothetical.
person brings up the race factor.
No, not every pro-lifer does, and I barely ever do it. So stop with your generalizations. My argument has nothing to do with race. The principle contested
black-
is that
You
if
say
a
black
mother-
child,
I'm
right?
going to explain this
With
to
a
you
white
again.
woman.
I've never brought up race ever
Who?
in discussing abortion.
Yeah, I know you guys are going to fixate on race. I don't care. The main principle of asking you
Dude,
it
I'm
was-
pro-life. What the fuck?
Well, I'm trying to finish my principle here, but
He just said a black baby with a white mother.
So if
That
yeah,
is a
that's
rape.
possible.
if
Yeah.
you change, so to test the principle, like I understand what Scooter's trying. I understand what Scooter's trying to do. Would you be willing to engage or able to engage if you were to change the qualifier?
It's called
here?
adoption.
Here's the
Well,
thing.
no. If he weren't talking about race, if you were talking about sex, if you were talking about some other characteristic, would you be willing to engage if he changed that
Well,
part of it?
here's the thing, Storm. If you did not eat today, how would you feel?
Feel hungry?
Okay, if you did eat, how would you feel?
If I didn't eat,
If you did eat, how would you feel?
I feel full.
Okay, perfect. Now you can engage in hypotheticals, okay? So now if we
Are
have
you
a
gonna-
mother who has a black child, and
Here we
wants to
go with the
euthanize
race
the
again.
Child, is she justified?
She can put it up for adoption.
No, can she euthanize the child and be justified?
She can put it up for
Oh,
adoption.
thank you. Hand hearts.
Why can she not euthanize her child if it's a decision between her and her doctor?
Wait, can we go back and get what Storm's pro-choice stance is? Because maybe I missed it, but I don't know what we're even arguing at this point.
Well, we mean Bro King, we're having a conversation, and then she kind of
She interjected.
Yeah, because I heard her babe say about medical decisions. And he brought up the race factor now
Bro,
because
you don't understand it. For the fifth time, we're talking about undesirable characteristics.
He's not. It doesn't matter if he's talking about, like, okay, I'll say the exact same hypothetical, but say a mom has a son who's born and his face is lopsided. Should they be allowed to go and euthanize the kid? Is basically what he's asking.
Yeah,
That's
we're
the
just
same thing.
we're just talking about undesirable
It
characteristics.
doesn't matter about the race. It has nothing to do with race.
but he keeps bringing up a white mother with a
Dude,
black
because
kid.
Yeah,
Storm,
that's
Storm,
not the
Storm,
relevant
Moving
part.
on.
Storm,
Just
just
move
let it
on. You
go.
clearly
You're
understand
holding
hypotheticals.
up on
You're just
something
not
here that's
engaging.
not important.
It's not important. Everyone's telling you race is unimportant to the context of the principle that's being contested. The principle is when it comes to euthanasia, we're talking about undesirable characteristics that a guardianship holds. And when they hold this guardianship over a child, the common theme within euthanasia is going to be using things that are undesirable to us like disabilities or raising a kid with disabilities or looking at the negative implications of these disabilities and then using those undesirable characteristics to unalive this human that's born. So you're the only one fixated on race. I'm just confused why you can understand hypotheticals, but you're actively just dodging this. But I'm just going to be clear with you. Your logical conclusion would be yes, she would be justified in doing so if she makes a medical decision with her doctor to do so.
So
That's
it's
gonna be the
safe to
logical
say
conclusion.
that a stillborn baby is 100% healthy in that woman, so that woman should not have an abortion, right?
That wouldn't be an abortion if,
What
if
are you
it's a s-
talking about? And
if
plus,
it's a
that wouldn't be an
stillborn.
abortion anyway.
It wouldn't be healthy.
Okay, this is not really adding to the conversation.
Yeah, is she kind of like just disengaged?
I'm just having some trouble tracking. Storm, I'm pro-choice too, but I'm having trouble kind of tracking.
A lot of
Tracking your
pro-life
logic.
people say that
If you
women
say
should only
race
have
one
one
more
choice
time.
to keep. They should not have multiple choices.
No, they
I
can have multiple choices. They just one of the choices can't be to unalive their child.
Even with medical, right?
No,
That's
with-
not the stance of all pro-lifers.
Yeah, and I don't think we've really figured out what you mean by medical. Like if the woman has miscarried and then she needs to have the remains of the unalived fetus removed from her womb, then sure, that makes sense, because otherwise, like, the woman could experience sepsis that could be dangerous to the mother,
But not the baby, right?
well, if the baby is missing a leg, then we're not going to say, oh, okay, well, that's enough of a medical reason that you can just end the baby's life.
What about if it has no fluid around the body? Is that not medical?
No, so Storm, okay, okay, so pro-life is going to be anti-abortion, okay? So we're specifically talking about being anti-abortion. So pro-life is going to hold causal obligation, okay? There's going to be multi-stances. So causal obligation is going to allow for an SA exception, because the principle of causal, if you engage in the possibility of an outcome occurring, then therefore you're going to be obligated to the child. So therefore, she did not cause the child with consenting actions because she was SA'd. So therefore, she can have an abortion if
King,
the
that's
baby
not
is
pro-life
alive.
then.
That is pro-life. It's just a causal responsibility.
That's not pro-life. That's
not pro-life.
It is
Griffin,
pro-life.
say pro-life.
Republican.
That's literally not pro-life.
Am I
at all.
talking to like new people that don't understand like basic
Republican.
exceptions?
So Republican, I don't agree with Scooter on almost anything, but yes, pro-life is anti-abortion, and some have exceptions for medical, others have and SA, some don't, some do.
Oh my God.
He's
Are
simply
you
giving.
defending the grifter? Are you kidding me?
He's
No,
simply
I'm just
giving.
saying,
Oh my
I'm not
God.
saying anything incorrect. I'm explaining to someone new to debating
The
the
different
differences within
causes.
pro-life positions.
Correct.
This is
I was
Green. It's not pro-life either.
wait.
I was in
Oh my
a
sweet
pro-life.
God.
You can
Republican, you're jumping in on what he's trying to do. And like I said, even though I don't agree with Scooter on anything, he is simply breaking down the different stances pro-life people have to someone who is new to this forum to give her a better understanding where people may be coming from on the opposite side. That's all he's trying to do.
I
right
met
now.
a pro-life person says SA is okay to not have an abortion.
Yeah, so
giving
exactly.
people
Let me
chances.
finish the
That's right.
description. I'll make it 30 seconds. I'll make it super
Not
simple. I'm
everybody's
not going
causal.
to try to confuse you. I'm not going to try to confuse you, Storm. So causal is just going to give the SA exception. Parental obligation, which most people agree with at birth, are just going to apply it at conception. So the obligation is going to occur because the guardianship is going to default to the woman, regardless of consent in this instance.
So it's okay to
So-
have flashbacks after the kid looks
hold
older?
on. Under parental, they're not going to give the SA exception. They're only going to give if the mother's life is in imminent danger. So if the child, like you keep asking, develops a medical condition to where they can no longer survive, well, that's not going to be a voluntary abortion that all the pro-life stances together are going to agree upon as immoral. Okay?
Please go look at Allie Phillips' story.
I have.
Okay. And are you going to attack her because she had an abortion?
Giving the context, you have to remind me because I read it a long time ago, but I don't know. You'd have to restate the condition.
Her pregnancy went completely downhill.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there because we don't debate individual stories or anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, that's true.
We are debating a topic and we are debating what ought to be. So so saying, well, what about this person? What about that person? We can talk about what about people like all day. So whatever you say right now, I could probably bring in a half a dozen people right now who had that same experience, yet their outcome was different. So we're not going to go down personal stories but if you have a topic or a stance on why you think her story is important, then you can bring that up. But we're not going to just
Her
go
story
down
is
personal stories all
important.
day.
It's not important to the context of the debate.
Okay, Malice.
It's not
have we
important.
done
Yeah,
an
it's not
age-
important to the context.
Have we done an age check on
Oh yeah, Storm.
Storm?
35.
How old are you, Storm?
35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but so what about her story is significant? Like, was it because it's a medical exception or
Medical exception.
you know, what do you feel? Okay.
I feel like
almost everybody gives a medical exception. So
I feel
arguing
like
a medical exception is just kind of mute because everybody gives those.
I feel like pro-life has been attacking her because I've been reading all of her comments. Pro-life, especially.
Okay, well, no one in here has been attacking her.
Especially live action.
Dude,
and
we'll condemn any pro-lifer that attacks people given the medical exception. Now, what's your argument?
My argument is, why does pro-life believe that harassing women is love and compassion?
Oh, well, no one thinks that. Thank you for the red herring. What's your argument?
Oh, I already exposed live action too. They're frauds.
I don't care.
Nobody's arguing that.
They're
What's
okay.
the
with
fucking
it.
argument,
What is your
Republican?
okay?
What's the
hold
argument?
on, guys, hold on. Storm, what is
lot of
your
pro-life-
position? Like, why do you think? Not about what pro-life is doing or what you find difficult about pro-life. What is your pro-choice stance? Why should a woman be allowed to get an abortion?
Because it is not my decision. It's not my decision to say to that woman, you're not allowed to have that. I don't care. You are not allowed.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Why
That's
should
fine. So if
I-
you saw a woman, if you're walking down the street, and you see a woman on the corner with, like, say, a 1-year-old, okay, and she picks the baby up and just drop kicks it into traffic, would you just be like, oh wow, doesn't have anything to do with me, that's her choice?
I would call the
What would you
cops.
do at that point?
I would call the
Okay, so
cops.
hold on,
I wouldn't
Okay,
go up
why?
to her because
Why,
I wouldn't
though?
go up to
Why?
her because it's not my
But why would you
place.
want to call the cops though? Because it's her choice. It's her choice to do that. It's
Let
her
me
kid.
talk.
It doesn't have anything to do
Let
with
me talk.
you.
No,
So
Storm,
why would you
Storm,
want to
you're
interject your opinion?
Storm,
I would call
here's-
the cops because I don't know if the woman has a weapon.
No,
because
so
it-
Storm, hold on. I'm gonna explain a basic concept to you, okay? So Storm, I'm just gonna ask you yes or no. I'm gonna get to the point in like 15 seconds. Do you think SA is wrong?
Yes, SA is completely
Should
wrong.
men force other men not to SA women?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're pro-life and you view abortion to be wrong, then you cannot critique pro-life if you want to say that they're forcing women to give birth, bro. Like, this is incoherent. Under your view and your ethics, you would literally say we ought force people to stop people from doing immoral actions like SA or human rights infringements, but you have all these like gross generalizations for the pro-life
How do you know if
community.
that woman had a knife and wants to stab me?
Storm.
See,
Okay.
you're not engaging, bro.
Hold on, Phil. Let me get
What
this.
weapon?
Storm,
What
you're
weapon
doing,
does a fetus have?
Storm, what you're
No,
doing is
if the woman,
what you're doing is adding variables into the situation. We gave you a black and white situation. If a woman drop kicks her 1-year-old into traffic and you said you would call the cops, why should you call the cops when you just said you are not going to intervene if a woman wants to have an abortion? Why are you
If the
trying to
woman-
hold on. Why are you trying to add variables into a situation when we just gave you one black and white?
so if I get stabbed by that woman it's my fault, right? For going up
You're
to
straying from the idea of the principle, though. So I understand that you feel the need to like add in all of these variables if you're talking about a specific hypothetical, but I think what you need to do is explore the principle, which is more in line with like why you feel that one not be compelled to interject should they witness something that they perceive to be abhorrent or like morally incorrect.
Yeah,
That's the
Storm.
principle.
All we're telling you is, regardless if you're pro-life or pro-choice, you're gonna implement some kind of force mechanism in place to stop human rights infringement. So even though me and Sarah are probably completely on different ideologies, we're all, me, Green, and Sarah, are going to view SA to be wrong. So if we had a group of men that physically beat the shit out of this like rapist, we're going to be like, yes, this force was necessary given the context of the situation. This would go with any human rights thing.
but you're not hearing
have
what
a
I
human
was
right is an
telling.
entitlement, and within that entitlement is going to entail protection. So without protection or enforcement, that right's going to mean absolutely nothing. So that's why the pro-life has to hold the position.
Okay,
that
Storm,
we're
Storm, let me
implement-
explain it.
We're going to
Let me
implement
explain
a
it to you
force
this way.
mechanism.
Sarah, what do you think about what I said
to
as King? I'm curious.
What?
You're not
What do you think?
letting
What
me
do you think?
finish
What
talking.
about what do you think I said to King?
About what? Sorry, I was.
Oh, hold
I was
on, hold on.
laughing
I
at
want to say
Dallas's
something to Storm.
board. I'm sorry.
Hold on. I want to say something to Storm. Okay, so what we're saying is that your principal, okay, so regardless of whether or not she has a weapon, you would still intervene by calling the cops, okay, because you
Yes, but not
find that
going up
action
to
to
the
be wrong,
person.
correct?
That's not the
Yes.
relevant.
Okay,
point,
all right.
though.
So
Because you
so
don't
that's
know if
what
the
we're
person's
saying.
gonna
We're saying
attack
that
you.
we find abortion to be wrong. So we are going to intervene because we find it morally reprehensible that someone should unalive their child. So it's the same thing. So saying, well, you guys don't get to say, or we shouldn't say anything because someone's doing something that we don't like, but I do find it okay, then that's all I'm saying is that you would intervene in that situation because you find it wrong. Okay. And that's
But
what
I would never
pro-life
go
does.
up to the
We find
person.
But that's
abortion
not
wrong.
relevant, Storm. The relevant piece here
It's
is
not
we're
relevant.
it's talking about intervention. How you might go about intervening, like you could come up with 8 million ways. You're talking about intervention by calling the police. That is still a form of intervention. You could, try to tackle that woman or stop it. That's still a form of intervention. So the details around the type of intervention that you're using are not relevant here. It's the intervention itself.
Yeah, and
So
then
if the woman comes after
but
me,
yeah, Storm, real quick, 5 seconds. That intervention you're implementing is force. That's the point here. It's force. But go
so
ahead.
if the woman comes after me with a knife, for her to kick the baby into the road, and she comes after me saying, "Oh, don't call the cops," are you okay with that?
Intervention is again, I think you're missing the point here. Like you are, even if you feel you need to intervene in a situation, like you're not morally or legally obligated to do so in a way that is going to necessarily put you in like an unwarranted degree of harm. So like if I were walking down the street and I saw a man beating his or like assaulting a female, I would want to intervene. It may not be physically safe or reasonable, given my size and stature, to physically intervene myself, but I could call the police, I could yell and scream. There are other ways to do that. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for someone, because I don't want to infringe on people's privacy too. It's okay to infringe on people's
So
privacy,
if your
right?
neighbor, if you're sitting in your apartment and you hear your neighbor just violently going at her 2-year-old, would you just put on headphones and be like, not my business?
I don't live in an apartment, so I don't know that kind of situation.
If you did, oh my God, if you lived in an apartment and you had paper thin walls and you heard your neighbor just going off on her 2-year-old and just going off, like physically attacking this child, would you just put on headphones and be like, not my business?
No, I would call the landlord I would not
Exactly. You would intervene.
Yeah, you're intervening.
But should I?
Storm.
You would
Storm.
intervene. Oh my God.
Should I peek in the window to see what's
Storm.
happening?
Storm.
Yeah, you would be just
privacy.
if everyone in here, literally, if we were in that situation, we heard a mother going at a 2-year-old, and let's say we lived in the apartment right by you, and you peeked in the window to get further context because you absolutely believe that this woman is like harming this 2-year-old, then we're not going to look at you in any bad way for peeking in the window because
Peeping
we went up and asked you, why are you doing this? And you're like, dude, I think she's harming her 2-year-old. You would want to intervene as well. So
there are also different degrees of intervention. So you can intervene in different. Wow.
Republican, fix your shitty ass mic, you fucking leftist. Holy shit.
So there are different degrees.
No,
of
it's
intervention,
lanterns.
right? No, that was his.
Oh.
So there are different degrees of intervention, right? You're getting hung up on what are the possible consequences of your intervention. You could take the most extreme intervention or the least extreme intervention. There's always going to be some kind of possible reaction or consequence of that intervention. It's going to be up to you to decide what level of intervention you want to take based on the possible outcomes of that intervention.
So privacy doesn't matter.
Privacy
It
only
may
matters
not.
up until the
Listen,
point, right?
Privacy may not matter. Privacy may
Sure. Privacy only matters up to a certain point. As stated by everyone here, if you are next door to your neighbor and they're yelling, screaming, wailing on a 2-year-old,
It's accurate. Somebody's microphone's messed up.
Turn off your
Can you drop
socialist
and, like, come
Wi-Fi,
back? Your
bro.
mic is like it's so bad. We
Yo,
can't even hear you.
I'm dropping
Thank you.
the dude.
Thank you.
Sorry. I don't
So-
drop people. But.
So again, where I was trying to go with that, yeah, we're entitled to privacy. However, there, as all things in life, contextually speaking, there may be certain instances where that privacy might be halted or possibly interfered with. In the
So peeping
situation, they
Tom
just,
is a good way to do it.
No.
Like,
again,
No.
under the circumstances of you
Oh
hearing
my
a
God.
2-year-old getting aggressed upon by its mother, possibly in a violent or an abhorrent way, being a peeping Tom, per your words, would be absolutely justified to verify what you were possibly hearing. Now, you meant probably the least, I guess, aggressing type of intervention, which would be call the landlord. Why you wouldn't call the cops, I don't know, but you would call the landlord, as if the landlord then could take over that obligation. However, everyone's going to determine what that intervention for themselves will be.
King, you kicked me because I called you because I
No,
exposed
it
you.
was because of your
We
mic.
kicked you
Republican.
because
It
your
was-
mic sucked and you kept echoing.
That wasn't
Yeah.
my. You know, everybody
It
knows
was.
that
Yes,
wasn't
it
my
was.
mic.
It
That's
was.
me.
No, it was your mic.
No, it
Republican.
wasn't. I
It was
turned
your
my
mic.
microphone off.
So
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people are saying it's you.
okay.
Are you the problem?
I literally turned off my mic.
Okay,
It was still
Storm.
echoing.
9 times then
Okay,
means
well,
you
you're
got
not
a phone
echoing
call or
now, so
something,
we're
you didn't
good.
jump out of the app.
Storm.
Wait, Sarah, I got a
Why
question.
are you
Wait, I
getting
got a question
bogged
for you.
down in the
Sarah.
particulars without seeing the big picture?
Sarah,
because I feel like
Hold on.
that privacy for a woman, I don't want to infringe on them. I don't want to force
So you
my
would let the
beliefs on
woman,
them.
you would let the woman unalive the 2-year-old because you respected her privacy?
Yes, because
Oh, no.
I
Don't
wouldn't.
do that.
Wait, did you just say yes?
She said yes.
Oh my God.
Don't you do that. I don't think
So-
she means to. I don't know.
So why should I be the peeping Tom of
You
if
don't
I
have to
turned?
be.
Why
I
should
can
I
agree.
control somebody else's life for them? How should I?
God.
I understand what she's saying. She's saying if just because this kid's screaming doesn't mean he's getting beat up.
No, she's saying it's not my chair, not my problem.
No, she's saying. She's saying.
Bro, it doesn't matter. The only thing within the
No, she
hypothetical we're
basically
testing-
that's what she said.
Yeah,
She
it
said
has
that she would let the mother unalive the 2-year-old because she didn't want to infringe upon her privacy.
No.
Ivana, did
So
you have
the
something to say
whole-
to that?
The whole
Is
point
that
here
this
is
year's
just to test
conversation,
the.
Storm?
No,
Hold on,
really-
Ivana. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the
When
only
I
point
just
in the
I
hypo.
came in and I just heard that is absolutely wild. Because you're afraid of being a peeping Tom. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, let's just continue on.
Yeah, but so once again, Storm, if you reasonably thought that this mother was beating her 2-year-old with physical, like, I don't know, hitting this child, would you intervene? It's a yes or no. There's no what if this, what or that. You reasonably believe this to be the case. So you call the cops and intervene. We're asking you, would you do so?
I would just call the cops. I wouldn't intervene.
That is intervening. That is intervening.
That is intervening.
But I wouldn't go physically against the woman. I wouldn't go
But you don't
to
have
her.
to. I don't know what the disconnect here is. What we're saying is intervention can manifest in a number of ways. The issue is not necessarily how you're choosing to intervene. It's whether or not you would intervene.
Correct. So I would probably, if it was me, break in the fucking window and then fucking choke slam the fuck out of her if she was really doing that. You might call the cops. Regardless, it's intervention.
I mean, breaking down the door might be more efficient, but sure.
Yeah, whichever one. If I could like hop into her window like fucking Spider-Man, I probably fucking
What
would.
about
gonna
a
Hulk smash
person?
the window.
What about if a mother leaves the child in the car? Are you going to break the window?
Yeah,
Break
if I
break
call the
the
cops?
fucking window.
100%.
Rip off the
100% breaking the window.
Break the window.
Or if it was a dog, I would do the same.
Yep.
So you
And I
wouldn't
have.
call the cops?
Oh, I
I
would
would
do
call
both.
the cops too. I
could
would
do
do
two
both.
things at once.
Yeah, I would
could do two
absolutely do
things at
both
once.
because I want the person who did this to be held accountable. But my primary concern is the safety and well-being of the living creature that is inside the vehicle.
So no permission from the
You don't need it.
cops first.
Storm,
fuck no. I don't
Storm.
need it.
In Florida, I have a due diligence under the state of Florida's law that if there's a child during any temperature of the season that could possibly harm or injure that child that's left in a car alone, I have the legal right to go ahead and break into that vehicle, take that child out, and to give it care. Then I can call the cops either before or after, but I could do it. Absolutely. Screw what the parents
Yeah, it's the
did.
same in Arizona.
Agreed. Only if it's too really, really cold, really, really hot. You can't just do it. Just with the windows up.
Storm, here's the thing
It's
that
Florida. The average temperature is 80 degrees. Chief.
No, but hold on. Within the context of breaking the car window, it's like, yeah, of course it's going to be a location. So like, it depends. Like, did this mother just run in the gas station, run out, or have you been like looking at this car? You see a child in it, and it's been like 30 minutes. Is the temperature over 100 degrees? Is it below freezing? All of that's going to play context. But regardless, if it was like the temperature, we'd probably still call the cops if it's been like 30 minutes to an hour.
I would say even if
So-
it's been less time than that, and I've done that before, where I've seen somebody leave a really young child in a car and they run into a store like a gas station, presumably even if it's just for a few minutes, I'll go in and we'll have a conversation with that mother. I may not be breaking the window or calling the cops, but I am going to intervene. That is still a form of intervention. Because Storm, here's the thing: you can say like, I believe that people in general ought to have the right to life, to liberty, to bodily integrity. But that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be circumstances which warrant the justified violation of those rights.
The main point is any human right needs enforcement. Or
I
it means
actually
nothing.
witnessed. Hold on. I actually witnessed someone breaking the car window. The person came out with a gun, and I got in my car quickly.
So you're more worried about your own body, your own person. And guess what?
Yes.
That's absolutely your right. Just own up to it. It's okay.
Yeah. So it's okay to run away from a person, because the person that was trying to get the dog out of the car, the guy came out with a pistol.
Malice.
And yeah, he was about to shoot the guy because he was in there for just an hour in the mall. And I freaked out because I jumped back in
Tap
the car.
the screen,
because I
guys.
saw
Tap
it.
the screen. And Storm, I'm just gonna remind you, when you use a word for a weapon, just say pew pew. It's
Okay.
TikTok guidelines.
Yeah,
if you don't mind doing that
regardless,
for me,
like that's not
thanks.
the point, right? Now we're getting into anecdotal. The main point here is like, if given the context, you break the window or call the cops. I mean, if I break the window and then the owner comes out, well, I'm going to assume like a negative response by the owner, right? I'm breaking into his car to stop this action that I reasonably believe is resulting in like a death of a child or a dog. So I'm assuming that responsibility by physically intervening. The main principle here is if you don't want to physically intervene, you said you would call the cops, then you'll have other people physically intervene, all encompassing the wide view of force. It's a force mechanism in place to stop what you deem to be immoral by one, physically intervening with yourself, which you don't tend to do. You would call the cops and then have these men come in and intervene. So regardless, it's still force. That's the point.
But my life doesn't matter because I have to intervene.
No.
No, we've already established you
Nobody
don't.
is saying that, because you can adjust the way that you intervene in order to protect yourself. Nobody is saying that you have to necessarily sacrifice. Like if you saw somebody drowning, let's say I saw a 250-pound man drowning. I'm a good swimmer, but I'm, 100 pounds less than that man. Would it be reasonable for me to physically jump in the water to try to save him? Maybe not. But there are other things that I could do. I could try to get assistance from others. I can call the police. I can try to get a life raft. Like you don't have to self-sacrifice necessarily in order to intervene.
Try to help until somebody got there.
Yeah, so like even if Sarah, like, I don't know, saw this 250-pound man drowning and I'm the bystander and I'm just watching this. Let's just say like I'm just watching her actions. For some reason, I'm not intervening. But I see Sarah like throwing, life-saving measures at him like a floaty or trying to get a long stick for him to grab, taking the measures of life-saving measures in this instance. We're going to be like, she reasonably did everything she could given the circumstance and her physical characteristics. So we're not going to be like, oh, Sarah, well, fuck you. You didn't save this guy's life. We're going to be like, no, given her however tall she is, how strong she is, she did the reasonable thing here and tried to intervene. She did the morally correct thing, even though she was biologically constrained. So we're not going to like look at Sarah and be like, well, you're just fucking like, why didn't you save him? It's not going to be like that.
Okay, I want to say something. Hold on,
Wait,
Storm.
Kat,
Hold on, Storm. I
there's
just want to
a
say something
person that-
about. Hold on. So I just want to say something about my backgrounds. These are reductios that take these excuses to the extreme. So when I say my life is more important, that does apply to Kaylee Anthony, because her mother decided that her life was more important than Kaylee's, and so therefore unalived her. So it is the same concept. It's just a different case. Go ahead, Storm.
But Storm, I honestly think like we're being so like we're trying to explain things to you. I just don't think like I'm not coming at this meanly. I don't think you fully understand the position. So it's kind of really hard to have a conversation when we make it so simple and like everyone gets it except for you. So it kind of makes it a little bit more challenging. I'm not coming at that like negatively.
The way I see pro-life is they want to be their doctor. You want to physically control what they do.
Sure.
You want to be or play the doctor for them. And I
See, this is what I mean, bro. This is incoherent. No one wants to be a fucking doctor within pro-life.
But the sidewalk counselors, the ones that Kat was mentioning, I see them as being very rude.
Sure. But they're intervening. So like that's the thing too, like how you feel about it personally. Like I could agree with you in saying like people that protest outside of Planned Parenthood are gross. However, they have a stance and they are intervening. It's not an extreme example, but that's their way of intervening in something that they perceive to be a human rights violation. I can disagree with it all day long, but it doesn't change the fact that
Because
I gotta bounce.
Me and my mom, we went to
Hi, Green. See you later.
Planned Parenthood because I had to go do a woman thing. And we got attacked by pro-life people, by the sidewalk counselors. And they did not know what we were doing. We were going for a pap smear.
Sure.
I've had that
And
happen too, and it sucks. It's gross, but it's not really
Regardless,
relevant
but
to like
here's
what
the
we're
thing, you know, like this is vague and it's so vague. I'm just gonna say I don't absolutely believe that you were attacked by a pro-lifer.
I
I'm gonna
was.
go ahead and make that point. But the
They
main
gave
point
out little
here,
bags in
it's
front of
being
us.
very vague for a reason, I feel like. So
No.
regardless, if that's your perception
What
of
does that have to
pro-life,
do with anything,
yeah,
though,
there's still
Storm?
pro-choicers that do the exact
Because pro-life likes to say, "Oh, you don't need to go get a Pap smear. You can go to a crisis pregnancy center to do that."
That's not Storm, like, and it sucks
What does this
because
have
like
to do with abortion? What does Pap smears have to do with abortion?
Wait,
Nothing.
hold on, Storm.
None of these
Define
people were
attacked.
there.
Hold on.
No
I'm
one in this
curious.
chat or on the
this is a
panel were
Malice, hold on,
there.
hold on. I
So
guarantee
why are you bringing
she's
me
Because
into
lying.
that?
Kat
I guarantee
brought it
she's
up.
lying here. I'm gonna
Because
press you
Kat
on it. Hold on, Storm.
because Kat
How are you
brought it up.
attacked? How are you attacked?
They were throwing pamphlets in our faces like, "Here." Like
Did it
forcefully.
physically? Did they physically punch you?
No, but they were saying, "Oh, don't go killing a baby" and stuff
So
like
wait,
that.
hold on.
That's
So
gross.
speaking is attacking?
Yes, I call that.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
Here's a better word, Storm. Maybe you could say accosted. But if they were within like,
Because someone had dissenting positions and words than mine, they're therefore attacking me by yelling. Okay.
okay, Storm, have you ever heard of the Westboro Baptist Church? Are you familiar with who they
Yes.
are? Okay, so they do some things that I would be considered to be like super morally abhorrent, like they protest soldiers' funerals and all this. But they act in such a way that they're abiding by the law. They're exercising their freedom of speech. It doesn't matter how like gross I perceive it to be. It doesn't change the fact that they're not breaking any laws. Do you understand the difference here?
Yes.
Like, right.
But
So-
I
so-
don't understand why pro-life wants to get into somebody else's business that they don't even know what they're going through.
And look, that is a valid concern and question, but it's a different conversation and it's a generalization of that stance. As a pro-choicer, there are tons of pro-choice people who have stances that I don't understand, that I don't agree with, that I would not say like we ought to be generalizing all people who associate with this stance as like coming from the same space. We're all different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Storm.
So
I
why?
can send you articles of like pro-choicers literally setting on fire pro-life buildings and organizations, but I'm not gonna look at those like particular situations and be like, oh, Sarah's an arsonist. Like she's just a radical pro-choicer that
So
goes
do
around
you,
and burn things.
King?
I wouldn't even apply that to any or on a generalized standard within the pro-choice community.
King.
Wait, I have a question for Storm. I want to ask before I leave. I want to ask Storm one thing.
What?
So wait, how hot or how cold was the dog thing? How hot was it or cold?
It was actually 102 degrees.
Holy shit! That means like
Yes.
150 in the car. Okay, that's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Storm, why do you like unaliving children?
Wait,
Is that the kind
wait,
of comments
wait.
you're talking about?
Hold on one second. Storm, as someone who's pro-life, I don't do anything like at Planned Parenthood. I'm not out there. I don't think it's productive to be screaming, yelling, shoving things in people's faces. But I hope you can understand like the heart behind a lot of those people is that they're not wanting that child's life to be ended. And I again agree, some people are going there for birth control, for a pap smear, for other things. And you're right, there is no way to necessarily tell who's who. But again, like as a pro-lifer, I don't think that that's necessarily the most productive, but I can certainly understand that being, hey, this is our last chance to save this child from certain unaliving, and so we're gonna do everything
No,
we
ultimate
can.
unaliving, not certain.
Yeah.
But how do you know that pregnancy is 100% healthy?
You don't.
It's not, bro.
Okay.
And Storm, all she was saying is just because, and I think it would be very I'm going to be very clear when I say this. It would be very productive within the pro-life community to burn down all Planned Parenthoods. It would be very, very, very productive Okay. However, just because we can do something doesn't mean we ought to do something. We ought not, like, do arson. We ought not do these things. We rather have intellectual conversation, at least us, and try to, convince people to be pro-life or understand positioning better. And just because people can do something doesn't mean they should be able to do something. So when you pro-lifer that would set these like organizations on fire, we would probably hold a legal punishment for them. Absolutely, we would.
So
Because we can do something doesn't mean we should.
I have a question. Should we get rid of HIPAA laws then so that pro-life can intervene more with women's medical records?
Why would we do that?
No, next question.
Yeah,
We're not even going to entertain that one.
Storm, you agree though? Just because we can do something.
Hold on. I think Nashville had something to say before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nashville.
It's just simply that 600 to 800,000 times a year, these children are being unalived because of non-medical reasons, non-essay reasons. Would you be against that, Storm, of just outlawing the absolute because I want to stance, elective abortions?
Elective, yes, but not medical.
Okay.
Hey,
There's
Storm,
some common ground.
something. You are a reasonable person. You are one of the few. Okay.
Can we stop simping, bro?
Right.
No.
And who are you
just
talking
welcome
to?
back here.
Me?
I'm just letting
Isaac.
Storm know you are one of the most reasonable pro-choice people I've ever heard in my life. I don't think I've ever heard a pro-choicer say elective abortions are bad, and I disagree.
What?
Okay.
Dude, you could be pro-choice and say abortion is immoral.
I
but
understand that.
You could
I
be
understand that,
agnostic
Phil,
on the
bro. I'm
law.
saying that normally they do not concede that point, and she just did. That shows maturity. Is there anything else I need to say to appease
That's
you?
not conceding a point, bro.
Should we
is
ban?
conceding a point.
I have a question for pro-life people. Should we ban medical?
Ban
Absolutely
medical.
not.
What do
No.
you mean? No.
No. Like the medical decisions for women.
No.
If a doctor says it's going to harm your life, it's going to, or not harm your life,
Or
but it
end
could
your
take
life.
your life, there is a
Yeah.
risk of that. Under no means should that be forced birth in that situation. Never. And I don't think any pro-lifer thinks that way. But that's why I'm saying you are the reversal of us. You are a reasonable person who's pro-choice, or reasonable people who are pro-life.
I don't even like
Thank
the
you.
term forced birth though.
Let's
Because
be
the child
clear.
is going to be
fine with
born.
There's something
either
a little
way.
bit
Term
confused.
forced
So
birth.
hold on. Do we all agree that you could be pro-choice, say abortion's immoral, and then be agnostic on the law? That's not a concession on any standard to hold that position.
I'm
That's
a
still a
pro.
pro-choice
I hold that
She's
standard.
conceding that elective abortions are wrong. That's what she's saying.
That's not a concession. It's still a
It
pro-choice
is.
position.
The argument that we made was that elective abortions
But
are
what
wrong. She
happens to
conceded.
their
She said, sure, and agreed.
privacy? What happens
What
to
are you not following? Phil, I
their
feel like you
decisions?
just
What
don't-
Isaac,
happens to all of that,
What am I
Storm?
not following?
I feel like you're just attacking me personally. Maybe it was
No,
something
I
said
said,
to
do we
offend you?
all, hold on, when I make a claim, do we all agree that you could be pro-choice and agnostic on the law does not mean I'm personally attacking you? Like,
So Storm,
I applied it to everyone in here.
words, though,
buddy.
at this point, you're dragging this out for minutes when literally all we're trying to do is have a
All I'm saying is there's no
So I'm going to ask you
concession
again,
with
is there
this.
anything I can say to appease you? So that we
Okay,
can
Isaac,
continue
you
this
want
conversation?
you want to do this? What are human rights, buddy?
What are human rights? Human rights are given to you at conception,
Why?
in my opinion. Because their parents made the choice to conceive you. That's under those
The parents made the choice to conceive you? How's that
Yes.
the case?
You don't think that people choose to conceive children?
Are you saying you can consent to a biological process?
Yes, absolutely. You can consent
Sure.
to sex.
All right, so you can consent to a biological process?
You can consent to sex. You know
How
exactly
can you
what I mean.
consent to something you're unaware of that's happening?
Are you saying you would be unaware of the sexual relations you have with a person to conceive a
No,
child?
no.
That's what
Just
you're
because
saying.
you consent to sex doesn't mean consent to pregnancy. So
It
once
does
again,
mean consent to
hold on.
pregnancy.
You're
You understand that
backtracking.
that's a risk
Yeah,
when
you're
you have
running it
sex.
back.
Yes or no?
Are you going to interrupt me? So you're running it back?
Yes, I will when you make nonsensical claims.
No. Isaac, you said you can consent to conception, correct?
You
So that's a
absolutely
biological
consent to
process,
conception.
correct? So therefore,
Yes.
engage, buddy. Engage. So you said you can consent to
So
conception.
you're taking a synonym to what I'm saying, and you're trying
A
to apply to the
synonym? No,
situation. Can we
hold
continue
on.
the
That's not a
This is what I'm talking about with the nitpicking.
Hold
shit.
on, Isaac. Just
Let's get
chill.
productive.
The internet's not going away.
Yeah, this dude.
Let him respond.
I don't think he
and
knows.
then
I'm
you
just
can
saying,
answer.
let's have an
Talking
actual.
about.
We're arguing
Let's.
because you're so
You're
fucking
literally
stubborn.
Let's then.
Isaac, I'm telling you, you're being incoherent.
Phil, bro, I'm telling you, you're being stubborn and condescending.
I'm not. So once again,
You
you
are.
said I'm asking you a question. So you said you can consent to conception, which is a biological process.
Absolutely,
After that,
you can.
hold on. I'm gonna walk it down for you. I'll put it right in your fucking lap so you understand. So you said you can consent to
You're gonna
consent.
explain your point,
I
great.
asked you.
Let
I
him
know you're
speak, Isaac.
derailing.
I
You're
understand,
derailing.
Sarah.
It's okay. So you said you can consent to conception. I asked you, can you consent to a biological process? You said yes. Now, after that point, when I was about to go down the reductio, you changed it to, well, they consented to sex. So what I asked you is
You
consenting
literally
to-
just said,
what
hold on,
I
pause.
asked
'Cause you
you,
just
Isaac,
said, you
what I
asked me
asked
if they
you
could
is
consent to
consenting to
sex, and you said
sex, a
yes. And then
biological
you said,
process.
can they consent to a biological process? So how am I bringing it to sex when you asked me that fucking question?
So Isaac,
Make it make
yes or
sense.
no, can you consent to a biological process?
You can consent to sex, which is a biological process. Yes.
So
I did not say
sex-
all
hold on.
biological processes.
Wait, hold
though,
on,
to
hold on.
clarify
So
for your small
sex is a
mind
biological
brain.
process?
Pump the brakes.
You can consent to sex. Sex leads to conception, which is a biological process. You
That's
fucking
not
twat.
consenting to the biological process.
Yes,
correct?
it is. You're consenting to sex, which you know has risks of conception.
Okay,
An
which is a
assumption of
biological
risk,
process. You
Perfect.
fucking-
There we
oh my
go.
God,
So
why-
Isaac, all right. So you just said
why are we going in circles?
I
you
know
clearly
because
are
you're
just
about to
trying
die on a
be
hill,
ignorant.
but you won't let it happen, bro.
No. I'm not going to let you be ignorant.
Yeah.
And try to make
So
your
once
point in
again,
a stupid
consenting to
fucking
sex.
subjective way.
Hello. Yeah, you said consenting to sex is going to be consenting to the
not.
risk of conception. So if that's the case, Isaac, we have Sarah. Can I use you as an example, or should I do it someone else?
Sure, you can.
All right, so
Or me.
Sarah gets super drunk by herself because she's coping from a breakup.
Sarah.
A hypothetical breakup. And when she's super drunk, let's say right before she drinks, she's like, I'm gonna drink and go to the bar tonight. So she goes to the bar, she's kind of tipsy, and she assumed all the risk of going to the bar at 2 a.m. So she goes to the bar, she gets essayed, she assumed all the risk. Would you say she consented?
See, this is what I'm talking about. Now you're trying to take in these random real world situations that have nothing to do with the
Same
topic.
principle,
at
though.
hand.
It's
Consenting
And
to
that's
risk
what
is
I'm
the
talking
principle.
about. Hold on. Because I was just now saying when you make nonsensical claims and try to be ignorant
Nonsensical
and you
claims.
want
I
to,
didn't make
you
this.
want
is
to,
your
no, hold
argument.
on, because you're using a parallel. You're like, oh, look, this is a parallel.
Whoa, I'm
No,
using
it's
a logical
fucking not.
parallel.
Essay
Test
as a
logic.
result of
It's
going to the bar
analogous,
is
Isaac.
not the same as conception as the result of having sex.
Isaac,
Are
just
you
because you
dumb?
can overtalk does not mean you're correct.
Phil, bro, you're trying to cut me off. I'm not trying to cut you off. Please don't try to make me out to be the bad guy here. I'm trying to say something. How about you shut the fuck up and listen?
Sure.
Oh,
can you
boy.
answer? Did she consent?
Did she?
They're not synonymous. Okay, going to the
Okay,
bar and
did
having
she, though?
essay
Yes
is
or no?
different
Did
from
she
having
consent,
sex
bro?
and having the risk of conception. Everyone
she
knows
consent?
having sex has the risk of conception.
Did
Not
she
everyone that goes
consent
to
to
the
getting
bar.
essayed?
Absolutely not, but they're not
Wait,
synonymous.
she assumed the risk. Hold on, she assumed the risk. How didn't she consent?
It's not synonymous. What are you ignoring me for the
No.
difference?
Your
ask you if
principle
it
with
was.
are you dumb, bro? Literally
No, you're
within
ignorant. You
within
fucking
sex,
retard. I'm
within
not
sex,
falling
you
for your
literally
little fucking
said.
Ooh,
bullshit.
you need to drop and take a lap. You can't
Yeah,
say
like
that.
Are you
Nashville,
talking to me?
everyone understands this with this dude that just wants to overtalk when I'm actually.
Dude, I'm not
reading
over talking. You're literally going back and
Isaac,
forth
you
with me
said when
about
it
some
comes to
random
sex, the
fucking.
reason she consented was because she assumed the risk, bro. So when I give you
Oh,
an
there you
example of a woman assuming the
Isaac,
risk of
Isaac,
an
you need to
action,
take a lap, dude.
yeah, like you're being incoherent. I'm telling
So
you,
I have a
Storm,
question
real
too.
quick, this is his logical conclusion. He would have to say, yes, she consented because she assumed the risk, but he wasn't willing to do so, so he's bad faith. So that's it.
Here's a question for you. Is adoption a band-aid to abortions?
Sure.
no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, whatever you mean by that, but sure.
I've heard multiple people say that
A pro Band-Aid.
adoption, putting your baby up for adoption, is just a band-aid. Like,
Well,
Sure.
yeah, because it gets rid of parental obligation once the child is born, but it doesn't necessarily resolve other things. Like if we're talking about pregnancy or like having to sustain a pregnancy as being like a bodily integrity violation. It doesn't resolve that, but it does, you know, in theory, remove your parental obligation once the child is born. So like depending on what it is that you're trying to remove from, like which obligations you're concerned with removing, that would probably be why somebody would say that.
Or what
So
they're putting a Band-Aid on.
If a baby is getting older and starting to look like the essayer, and the woman gets flashbacks, nightmares, and she kicks the child out, what would you do?
What do you mean kicks the child out?
Hold on.
Basically,
I have a comment for that. According to rain.org, 33% of pregnancies resulting from SA are from a current or former partner. Now, if she already has children by that person, why can't she unalive her existing children so she doesn't have flashbacks of her attacker?
And do you not believe that the love for that child is going to supersede any
so
likeness
it's
of
okay
the
to
child?
kick the child out of the house
No,
saying,
no.
Who said that?
We don't. We're
Yeah,
just
it's
saying that. We're just saying that adoption's better than abortion. That's it.
Yeah.
right. And I don't agree with that stance, but do you understand though that just because we're saying like something may not be ideal, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like better than or worse than something else. Like I don't know if I'm
so it's
phrasing that
okay
right.
to have flashbacks of your attacker?
No. We're just saying, like, oh, so you have the right, like in that scenario, there are things that you can do to try to heal yourself and stop the flashbacks, but it does. Why would you have to jump to like booting that kid out? Why does it have to be that? I'm saying there are alternatives.
Because the child looks like the attacker and you need to get rid of it.
Yeah,
But
but
wait,
why would
Storm.
you boot it out on the street as opposed
Yeah.
to placing it up for adoption, or I would even say terminating that pregnancy, having an abortion before it's born? Why would it have to be that?
Or I would,
Storm, do you understand
but
what
by the
you're
time that
saying?
child
Like,
looks like that, I would have years of therapy to hopefully overcome that
Yeah, I
scenario.
can't believe you would say that.
bro, that's like if a random man
What
did
about her
acid-
existing children, though? Can she just push them out the door too? I mean,
No, because they don't. If
like
she had multiple children with the
why not though?
attacker, if she
I
had
think
multiple
honestly,
children,
Storm, at this point, I think you need to hear the debate more. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. And Storm, I do have one question for
Yeah,
you.
so
because
she
we were
has
talking about,
existing children with her attacker. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go
if
ahead,
she
Mel.
had,
We're dunking on someone, or we're trying to, and they're so new, and they're clearly not following. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like,
it sounds like it.
no,
Yeah.
I'm being good faith here. I'm telling you,
Scooter's being super nice right now.
I'm trying to be super
Like,
nice.
I know
You better
it's all
enjoy it.
relative though. It's relative, but he's being super duper nice right now.
I'm just telling you, if it was a new pro-lifer, and then like this new pro-lifer was in a live with a bunch of pro-choicers, I wouldn't support them trying to dunk on this newbie when this like newbie's clearly not understanding anything that's being said.
Malice,
Right.
I can't with your pictures.
So Storm, seriously, with we kind of agreed that elective abortion should not be legal.
Yes.
So what punishment if they go ahead and do either the quote unquote back alley in a closed office or whatever? What
if
should
they
happen?
do the unhealthy way,
No,
the back
I'm
alley
talking about by
way,
the same. Yeah, that's not unhealthy. It's just after hours. But anyway,
if they
so
do
what
it,
should happen to them? You think?
if they do it, I don't know. It's hard to tell from another person because I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what their stance is to do that. How should I know what they're going through?
So this is what I wanted Isaac to hear. I hope he's still in the comments. Her premise is nice, but then when it comes down to what should happen, she's not as for it as she thought. So you don't think 3 years or a $10,000 fine or strip
If they
the
don't
doctor of
have
their
the money,
license?
if
Okay.
they
Well,
don't have the money,
I'm just asking.
And if they are living in their car, I don't know what they would do.
So if they don't have money and they're homeless, you can't do anything. What if they're rich?
It's
And they go
I
ahead
don't
and do
know
it.
because it is up to them, not me, to decide.
Okay. So you're
Because
not
I
against
don't
all other elective abortions.
I don't know what the person is going through.
Okay.
Storm, I think it's okay, and I don't think it says anything negative about you to
Oh no, 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 no,
identify.
no. I wasn't saying that something was wrong
No,
with
no,
her
I'm not
thought.
saying you're saying that. I'm saying I'm prefacing this by saying I hope I'm not coming off this way. But it sounds like you have some positions and you have some feelings, but it kind of sounds like they may not be grounded yet. And being in like the debate space, it kind of it's one of those things where you sort of have to be in it for a minute to even like necessarily clarify your own positions and then be able to ground them. And so to me, it sounds like you might not be at that place yet. It doesn't mean that you won't be. It just might mean you might need a little bit of time to sort of think about these things
The
and
way
reflect.
that Sarah, the way I see it, I don't want to control somebody else's life for them. I don't want to push my beliefs.
No, she's trying to take this. Dude, people in the app are going to use your arguments and then as fuel for other pro-choicers. So you don't know who the fuck's listening that might hop in alive tomorrow and be like, this fucking dumbass Storm was making a bad argument while they're trying to debate Sarah. So now they're going to have pre-contenses while debating Sarah, thinking that pro-choicers believe these irrational things, when in reality, you're just not understanding yet because you're new to the debating.
So it is
even if it was a
okay to
pro-lifer
control
that's
somebody else's
new,
life?
pro-choicers are going to have these presuppositions of pro-life that are false because we had a person debating something they did not understand, which is problematic.
So it's
Both
okay to
sides.
control somebody else's life that even though you don't know what
trying to
they're
help
going
you.
through?
Yeah,
Trying
Storm.
to help you.
It's both sides, right? It's both sides. So if there's a pro-choicer in the live, and they're making like Republican, can you mute for a second? Thank you. If there's a pro-choicer and they're making like really abhorrent arguments or really like misinformed ones, that what he's saying is that this is going to reflect potentially really poorly on the stance itself, and vice versa. I've heard pro-lifers make some pretty like crazy statements that definitely don't reflect like the average ideas or claims of like most pro-lifers. That puts the stance itself in a really unappealing light outside of the issue itself. You can have a contention with
Sarah. I want to say one thing. Backup Breeza been here for an hour and a half, and nobody's let her up yet.
Yeah, because she's dumb.
So what? Let her up.
That's why, bro.
She's not dumb. She's not dumb.
It's alive. Let her up. Come on.
Wait, reductio or backup? Regardless.
Backup Breeza. Wait, who's the other
It
person?
don't matter. Yeah, either one.
I'll
of them.
drop for her.
I'll drop for her.
Well, for God's sake, let me get one more thing in. Then
Same
before she
argument,
comes
new
up.
day. Let's hear
Let
it.
Right.
Nashville,
So
let Nashville
Storm-
talk. Oh my God,
So
guys.
Storm, I really
Sorry,
think
bro.
that- I
Nashville,
really
my
think that you've got kind of a more pro-life stance in your moral beliefs, but now you just need to double down on what you believe. Okay, I think murder is wrong, but to somebody that has murdered 5 people, they may not think so. You see what I'm saying? You have to have that moral grounding, but then you've got to double down on your belief. And it's not saying that you're trying to force other people. You're just trying to stop that human rights violation.
My way of seeing it is, why should I control somebody else's life that I don't even know what they're going through?
Because they're doing
Why
shit
should the
that's
mother-
bad for society. That's why.
Why should the mother control the baby's life when she doesn't even know it yet?
Amen. Amen.
Like, Storm, all we're trying to like have a conversation with you about is like, why is this justified? Like, it seems like your morals are aligning more with pro-life. You just take it to second base, and then like Nashville, me and the host are just hitting fucking home runs, and we're just saying that like we'll bring it all the way fucking home, all the way through, that we should criminalize women for doing this action.
Control is the right
We're like
way.
the home run pro-lifers. We just fucking take it all the way through.
So controlling somebody else's life that I don't know is the right way.
It might be. It might be depending on the
when it comes to
circumstances.
SA, I think that those people should go to jail. I don't know them, but I still think they should go to jail, right?
Yeah, I would control any man's actions when it comes to essaying a woman. I would be the living fucker.
We need to hold
During the time
men
of
more
Mustache Man,
accountable.
I didn't know any of those people, but I can still say it's wrong that was
So
a
should I
human
go
rights
up to a
violation.
woman? I have a question. Do you go to, like, if you're walking by a woman, do you know if they had an abortion or not?
No, I don't. But here's what I do. If I do hear of a woman contemplating it,
When I
will
walk
sit
past
down
a
and
dude,
talk
do
with
I know
them.
if he's an SAer?
Good point.
You don't. You
It's
don't
like,
really
dude, how
know.
many women knew that Ted Bundy was a serial killer when they were being fucking engaging with him, bro? It doesn't matter. Regardless, when we find out like you did this action and then you have the intent, we're gonna like hold a moral claim on you. One, on the pro-choice side, you're gonna be like, oh, she was attaining her bodily autonomy. This is completely justified. It's none of like other people's businesses. Or you're gonna hold that actually this is ending a human life. This is immoral. These things should not happen in society. And we have trouble justifying this in any other circumstance. So why are we special pleading to this one particular instance of voluntarily taking another human life without self?
It's a plea to pregnancy.
I'm gonna say this. When I was 11 and 13 years old, 11 to 13 years old, I was being essayed in the church by my pastor.
Sure.
I'm sorry for that.
And
so he wasn't someone that believed in God. So don't tell me you're going to use this against Christians, because all Christians would probably beat the fuck out of this pastor.
Right.
And I was scared of being pregnant, and I had to go to Planned Parenthood to get checked, and thank God I wasn't. But I was scared. I did not want to be pregnant at that age.
Well, age aside, okay, if that would have happened later in life, would you have looked up resources for organizations to help you keep the child?
No, because I would not want to be a mom at that age.
Okay, do you think that would be informed consent, though, if you didn't know both sides of it?
Yes,
You
because
do. So if you didn't know how to keep it, but you knew how to get rid of it, that's informed consent to you?
Because I would have been too young. 11 is
No,
way
I'm
too
saying
young.
if this happened later in life.
Nashville, you need to you need to ask her like her definition of consent.
How old do you think?
No. I'm
pregnancy should
okay.
happen?
Hold on. I see where you're thinking now. I'm not talking about consent to sex. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about informed consent
I've got to
medically.
go, but I'll be back.
I'm talking about informed consent medically to either having an abortion.
I would ask my
thanks for coming up.
I would ask my parents to get an abortion because I do not want to be a mother
Okay.
at 11 years old.
Okay. Again, let's say you were 21 and that happened, and you found out you were pregnant. Would you also look at the resources available to you to help support you and help supporting a child?
Counselor. I would talk to a counselor. I still don't want a child.
Okay,
I'm
well, I mean,
against-
that's okay.
But Storm, you see the idea though is like nobody is saying like you should do this or you should do that. The idea is that you are aware of all of your options. I think even somebody like me who has a very staunch pro-choice stance, I can still say that I think it's important that if a woman finds herself in a situation like this, at the very least that she's aware of what her options are. She has the right to decide to do what she feels is right. But the idea of informed consent just means that you're doing injustice to yourself if you're not aware of all of the options. That's not speaking about which option is ultimately going to be the correct one for you.
So
about being aware of what those options are.
Do you think a 10-year-old or 11-year-old even
No, I do not. I
should
think it's a
be
tragedy if that ever happens. I think it's a tragedy.
okay?
However, I think it would fall under medical at that age because of the ability for a 10-year-old to carry a pregnancy to term.
Yeah.
But if it
Because I
doesn't,
keep
I
hearing
do think they should have it.
I keep hearing that from some pro-lifers saying that a 10-year-old's body can actually handle a
We can't
pregnancy.
say one does and the other doesn't. I'm saying if it can, then yes, they should. But in most cases, that will fall under medical at age 10. I think everyone can agree with that.
Because I heard a story about the 10-year-old from Ohio
Right.
who had to go to a
Yeah, do
different
you want to talk
state.
about that one? You want to talk about
Yes,
that one?
please.
We can
The
talk about
mother's
that one.
boyfriend
Okay.
was illegal.
All right. Yeah, the mother's
and
boyfriend was illegal. Yeah, go ahead, Nashville.
I've got a plane going over. Go ahead.
The woman, the mother, her boyfriend was an illegal alien who was sexually assaulting or SAing the little girl. She was eligible for an abortion in Ohio. However, she chose to go to Indiana because she would not have to report the crime and her boyfriend would not get deported. So she got the abortion in Indiana to protect her SA boyfriend and the crimes that he was doing against her daughter.
And is it okay to attack?
You agree with that? You agree with that?
Not really.
You think that that's a good thing?
I would probably not let the 10-year-old go to another state, but ask Ohio.
No, you go to the prosecutor and prosecute your boyfriend for your child's sake. That's the right answer. Don't deport him. Keep him in our prisons because we know what happens to child SAers in prison.
And
That's
even
the
if the boyfriend weren't here illegally, it would be, I think if you were
Legal
talking about
or illegal.
illegal, if you had a situation where a mother were attempting to protect her boyfriend who had committed crimes like that, that would be the concern. That would be the issue. That's what we're jumping on here.
But a lot of pro-lifers said that she should have had that baby because it's her fault.
Well, before the new information, for sure.
Everything you're saying, you're just generalizing pro-lifers from things you heard in the past. It's like everything. You keep saying pro-lifers believe in this, or pro-lifers say this. It's like
because
this is not an argument. Like we're just
okay,
asking you
so
for your view.
my point is, okay, now let me ask you this. Okay, if you don't get any of this stuff, maybe you'll get this. Okay, let's go back in time. Okay, we're going to go back 150 years. Okay, young girls in 14 were routinely having children because our lifespan was not that long. Okay, now does that make it right? No. Does it make it what happened back then? Probably, because our lifespan wasn't that long. Okay, so in 150 years, please tell me what evolutionary changes our bodies have gone through to make it impossible for girls this young to safely carry children. Because the youngest girl to have a baby was 5 years old in Peru in the 1930s. All right.
That is
She's
completely wrong.
6-pound baby cesarean section. So, and that baby lived, she lived, they grew up. It was great. She had kids later on in life and she's still alive to this day. So please tell me why it would be impossible for a younger girl to successfully carry a child.
Because I just think that children should not be mothers at a very young age. I just think it's disgusting.
Disgusting? For who?
Yes, because
Are you taking away your choice?
No, I just think it's disgusting because you want a child to be pregnant.
Regardless how they, if they had it and are happy with their decision?
If somebody was
So should you force abortion?
No, we got to stop that. Hold on. Just because pro-lifers say this is unjustified doesn't mean we want children to be pregnant.
Yeah,
That-
nobody
Or
wants
be
that.
able to consent as far as that goes.
Yeah,
but
that's completely incoherent. We don't want
Because-
children to be pregnant. No. I don't think any pro-lifer that at least I have debated with wants this to be true or wants this at all.
But to Malice's point, it's not an impossibility of giving birth at younger ages.
So what
But
is
you want
your-
to argue these fringe things. You want to argue
How
young
young is too
girls. You
young
want
to
to
be
argue
pregnant?
essay. You want to argue, well, a 5-year-old had a baby, so you tell me. You want to argue all of these little 1%, less than 1%, 1/4%. You don't want to talk about the main gist of abortion, which
600,000
is
to
the
800,000.
elective abortion, which is 96 to 97% of them. You want to argue these little fringe things. So let's get down to like abortion, like the elective part of abortion, where women choose to go into a place and unalive their children because they don't want them, or they don't like them, or they don't feel that they need them. So what about that? What is your stance on those abortions?
I think that elective abortions are not okay, but I don't know what the woman is going through. It's not my decision.
What does it matter? What does it matter? Look at the lady on my screen. Do we really care what she was going through? I mean, do you care?
Was she a drug addict?
She had like 12 kids and starved them all. She locked them but with chains to their bed and hid them. Okay. She starved them. And they one had to break free and run away. They didn't even know what cell phones were. They didn't know anything. They didn't know anything, like street signs, nothing. They couldn't do anything. Do you really care what this woman was going through?
No, because that woman was probably a drug
Why?
addict.
Why? Maybe she was mentally unstable. Maybe she
What
had
does
a
being
bad
drug addict
childhood.
matter?
Maybe she just wasn't ready for children. Like why would we care what a woman is going through no matter what she does to her children if she is causing harm to them? Why does it matter?
Yeah.
If
I feel like the
I
difference.
choose that marriage, if I choose that woman's marriage, it would. Do you want me to choose that woman's marriage for her?
No one ever plans to be in a bad marriage.
No,
No, let me ask you a question, Storm. Would you be okay with the illegalization of elective abortions if we legalized a one-time stipend to all married couples upon the creation and keeping of the child, stipend of $25,000? So financial is no longer an issue.
$25,000 is not gonna go that far where I live. I mean,
50,000.
Of what he's asking.
100,000.
He's just pretty much, regardless of the variable of money, asking whether or not she would still say that this is permissible or not permissible. That's the point. The value of money or how much money is irrelevant.
It's like saying child marriage is okay in the United States.
No.
well, I think the problem that the thing you have the problem with is like the idea of like robbing someone of their innocence and their childhood in terms of the children, right?
Wait. We're not talking about children. We're talking about elective
Well, she
abortions
brought
over
up
the age of
child
18.
marriage.
I know she did in the last conversation.
Well, I thought she just didn't know.
No. So once again,
Just say-
Walker, and I want Storm to understand. So he's just asking you if it were the case to where if we provided the monetary benefit of giving birth, so let's say we have the government give you $25,000 to carry on this pregnancy, and there's no longer a financial concern, would you ban would you say, Walker, I don't want to interject for you, but would you say that in any other situation when it comes to abortion, or if women still had those abortions, would it be justified?
I apologize. Repeat the question. I had the
No,
baby
you're
going
good. It's
off
your
in the
question.
background.
Go ahead. You're good.
So,
It's good to see you again, Walker.
well, thank you. So I didn't know. If you can repeat the question I didn't see who was
No,
speaking.
no, no. I was expounding upon your question. So
Oh,
if you
okay.
want to go ahead and ask your question again.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, we can expand even up to 50,000, and that also includes. All right, and that also includes that other social programs to that. You still continue to keep the WIC. The hospital bill is paid, so you don't have to worry about even the fringe things. The 6 months in the NICU, where you have a $2 million hospital bill. There's a $50,000 stipend to raise that child, and even 50,000 is a lot anywhere. Because, well, I'll explain that at 18 years old, I bought my first air quotes home. I paid $2,500 for a trailer.
Wait,
I was
how old are
making
you,
15 an hour. I'm 26 now. I own a house. I own a new vehicle. Like you have to have a drive to improve your life. And I guarantee you right now, $25,000 would change my life. And I have 4 children. I mean, even $10,000 would change a lot.
No,
But
you're okay. Just ask your question directly, but to like make a claim that like 50,000 is going to be like a huge thing anywhere, like I don't know, if you're in California and you get 50K and you're in Los Angeles, well, that's fundamentally different. If you're like, I don't know, in Texas or something.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
if
you know
you're
people who pay $5,500 just for like a small 2-bedroom house rent a month.
Okay, for Breeza,
Well,
100,000.
Just be direct with your questioning. That's it. You're good.
Okay.
I'm
I
just
thought it was addressed to Storm anyway.
Yeah, just
But if you are not as rich and you have just like 3 jobs trying to get it by, how are you supposed to pay your medical bills? How are you
No.
However, I mean, I don't know. My depiction of hell is different from most. Like, I think you would have to
Dude, we got to keep the.
If you put yourself, you're not working, you're working, you put yourself in a.
Yeah.
Can we just move? Because that.
Hey, Kwame,
like, you know.
Yeah, let's just.
Hey, Kwame, bro, brother.
all people
Because
they don't
to do that.
Yeah, because they don't do it.
And not mentally broken. So like what I've been telling, like when my actual birthday come up, it's like I'm celebrating everything that I already did. So like my days, like it's gonna be intense. But I've been living like this. Like, why would I wait all the way to one day out of the year to celebrate myself? Come on.
Exactly.
But it's not allowed.
Thank you.
Also wanted to say, one, I had a question for Finite earlier, which is why he came back up. But 2, I have it pulled up on Google right now, and according to a couple of other things, and a couple of other links like the Open Societies Foundation, dictionary.com. It's the Illinois Department of Public Health, but that one's more of like a statewide thing. Sex work can involve, or I'm sorry, schmex work can involve scripting. So scrippers can be described as SWs without having to directly engage in the actual act of having intercourse. That's not the only thing that schmex work like applies to specifically. Yes,
There's also dominatrix, so they don't even do anything to these men and their schmex workers. They just treat them like, shit, and they whip them and treat them like dogs, put them on a leash, stuff like that. That's schmex work, but they don't touch them.
I'd say whipping is something.
Well, yeah, some of them do that, but some of them don't. But outside of that, my question to Finite specifically, I'll ask this and then I'll probably drop afterwards. But my question to Finite specifically was, earlier you were talking about like the SW position of saying you don't want to like concede to the argument that this is coercion because SWs go out and work to receive goods in exchange. But why exactly, like I'm genuinely asking the question, why exactly do you not perceive this as coercion for that reason?
Well, I don't think
So
in
I
this
don't
case.
perceive it as coercion simply because first of the actual definition of what coercion is. Because it clearly states the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. I don't believe force or threats. So any kind of means of threatening her safety in any shape or form was used to get her to agree to anything. She made a decision because she found herself in a financial strength, and she decided, I'm willing to give my body over for compensation. That's literally what SWs do. That's what they do.
But by the definition of that, well, what I was hearing earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I was hearing you say earlier was I thought you were saying the act of going out and doing SW itself were you saying that going out and doing SW itself would be coercion by our definition?
But no. I said I don't see how I would stand on the point of making it legal, but then trying to persecute the Johns for going out and feeding their business. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because most
I think
SWs
so.
don't come from a place of like was said, enthusiasm. It comes from a place of desperation.
Yeah, but
I
when you legalize SW, you also legalize like consumer, you know? So I don't
Yeah,
think
I'm
that
like-
John should be punished either. I think if you sequester or request from somebody a service and they give it to you, you
But that's
shouldn't
my
be
point there,
penalized.
powerful, because he clearly is making a proposition. It's a proposition. She has the option to say no.
Well, there's that. and
Even
it's
though he's
also the
pathetic
matter-
for doing it, but that's him being pathetic as a man because he feels the need to go do some stuff like that. But
Right,
the point is,
what's
though,
her other
it's a
option?
proposition.
So it's what
All right, what was that?
What was her other option?
I guess the forced and threat part, like there is no force and threat because she has the option to not do it. You guys are saying, what's the other option? We already have concluded. And I hope
Yeah, that's what I'm
like.
like.
We already said that we don't know. We can't assume that if she had options, we can't say that she did not have any options. All I can say is that in my brain, there's legal services. There's a lot of people that
For
can help.
example, right? For example, right? For example, right? In this scenario, clearly states that the family member is sick, right? I would wonder, where was that family member before they got sick? Why can't she just go live with them or stay in their home? Like, there's no real context to it. There's so many options other than giving your body over.
But
Look, let's assume that the landlord, instead of asking her to, in the same situation, instead of saying spend the weekend with me, he says, I own a strip club, or let's say this was in near Las Vegas where it's legal. I own a bunny ranch. You can stay here for free if you work at one of those places for me. Would that be okay?
It would be a job offer, so as long as he's not forcing her to do that or threatening to evict her if she doesn't, and she goes willingly, then sure.
So it sounds like you just object to the fact that he's the one
But I
getting
think we
the.
disagreed then.
You're just upset that he's the one getting the.
I'm not upset.
The X, as opposed to him offering her to go work at a place where she gives the X
I'm
to
upset
other people.
because he's taking advantage of her.
Hold on, powerful. We just
Yeah, he
agreed
is
by your
taking
statement. We
advantage,
just agreed.
That's one thing I think we all agree on.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry. Yeah. Hi, you guys. My name is Tyra.
Landlord is slimy as hell. He's a pathetic man, of course. We can all say that. However, she's making that choice.
Odin, 1 sec, because I wasn't done. Sorry, that wasn't to you.
I'm
sorry. By the way, no, it's not that. I think it was everybody started talking to each other, and I was like, I can't say it because I was going to agree with what you were saying in terms of your statement. Yes, what you were saying was correct, and also in terms of that statement, the whole reason I was asking that question, finite, was because of the fact that are you like The statement that you were making was making it sound like you were saying coercion cannot happen within SW. Like, am I getting the wrong thing? I'm asking because I don't want to misconstrue your words.
No, of course not. You can force and threaten a S worker to do something. Definitely, of course.
Okay,
I think what he was saying earlier was S work is usually coercive in itself. And I don't disagree, but if we legalize it and make it safe for women, then women would be more consensually open to it rather than going to it for desperation.
I know a lot of women who are
I disagree. I don't know about
because they
that.
make a lot of money doing it.
That's what
They're
I was
not
trying to
desperate.
figure out.
They just
That
they
was
make
the
more
only-
money. They make more money than me in my corporate, ADK. Like they make more money than me a year. So yeah, some of them do it for the money. Honestly, they do it consensually and for the money. It's literally a job for them. It's literally a job.
Right,
Yeah, but when
which
you're
is
not
why
normally in the SW work and you get propositioned for that, that's when it becomes not consensual. Is when it's not a service that you normally
No,
provide.
that's when it's seen as offensive.
Is
That's when it's seen as
offensive, yeah.
offensive.
No, I got to agree with. I have to agree because in the terms of SW, you're going out and you're making a living. It only becomes non-consensual
I don't know
whenever
if a woman's an
something
SW
happens
or
that
not.
you do not directly consent to. That is how that works.
How would you know if anyone's an SW or not, and if they'll be down for it or not? You can't advertise it; it's not legal. So how does it work?
Well, we've already gone over what's classified as SW work. So there's women that do it consensually,
Okay,
like
but
OF.
even so, outside of the club, how would I know that a woman's a stripper? How would I know that?
She would tell you willingly, I would assume.
Are you just
Or how would
propositioning
friends in the
them?
military? No.
Well, how would you tell that I work in cannabis by looking at me? You wouldn't. So that applies to all jobs, not just SW.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's only becomes offensive when you're not one. If you are one, you're gonna just look at the guy and be like, "How much?"
Well, also, the main reason I brought this point up too was because of what Jade just said in the comments. The whole point of bringing this up was I was like, we all agree that consent can be revoked, correct?
100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yep.
because what'd you say?
Oh no, I was just saying hi to Yep on the panel. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like that. That's the main question that I just had. I think I was just hearing. I might have been hearing what you were saying incorrectly earlier, Finite. But I also do have to agree with the legalization of SW. It would definitely not be, or I won't say it wouldn't be, but I guess I feel like personally there would probably be like less.
It would definitely make it safer because those women would have resources, and anybody who mistreats them would have repercussions because what they are doing is legalized, and if anyone violates them, it would be illegal for them to do so.
It should be safe, legal, and very regulated. You should have to be 20. You should have to be 24 years old to participate to be a SW worker.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't let
18-year-olds shouldn't be doing that.
You know?
Yeah, I would never let an 18-year-old. That's just crazy.
Yeah, no, at 21 and up, because at script clubs they offer drinks. Not at all of them. Some of them, like I have the prohibition or like the dry laws where they can't serve liquor too. But as long as they're 21 and up and it's consensual and regulated and safe for both parties, I'm fine with it. I'm gonna
tell y'all now, if they make it legal, in this country, the consent age will be what it is in those states, which is 16. America has a history of pedophilia. I mean, of that B word, and
that's what I was about to say.
No, because you have 21 for
that's why we
alcohol
should
and
make a federal.
No,
yeah,
see, that's was my original issue to the problem because
that's federal.
That was my original issue to the problem.
Say something though?
Yeah, in terms of the situation, that's what I was trying to say. I do absolutely believe that it could be legalized. But outside of their melody, I do think that I see what you're saying in terms of the age of consent thing, but I also think it's the matter that most script clubs also serve alcohol. So in terms to work there, I think that you'd have to be 21 and up anyway. But aside from there, I didn't have anything else to say. So I think I'm going to
we should raise the age of consent, to be quite honest, because the age of consent, it doesn't protect 16-year-olds. It protects who's going after 16-year-olds. The age of consent should be 18.
That's the age of consent, but I don't think that that's just some states. I don't know which states still have that.
Yeah,
That's
but
not-
I'm saying it should be federal. Like there should be a federal age of consent.
There's
That
39,
should
there's
never be a
39
state.
states in the US where the age of consent is 16. 39.
There's some states where it's 14. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Florida as
That's
well.
disgusting.
Yep.
So there's a lot of states. I was looking this up the other day. There are a lot of states that have the age of consent at 16, or they have age gap laws, which is really weird and kind of.
Yeah.
Well, age gap is
above
understandable
18
because
should be 18.
if a 16 and 17-year-old are boyfriend girlfriend in high school, and then the boyfriend turns 18 and she's still 16, all of a sudden he's a criminal.
He's one of those
So that's why
crazy.
they
Yeah.
have-
There's laws in place right now.
There
So
is a
if
thing
you were
called the
dating
Romeo and
before
Juliet
you
law that
turned
protects
18,
against that.
it's a Romeo and Juliet law. Yeah.
That is an age gap law. They're the same thing.
No, I'm saying no, but there's a reason for them, and they should exist because it's not
I'm
right
not,
to.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't exist. I'm saying that there's a dichotomy in states that have an age of consent at like 16 or states that have like age gap laws. Like it's very weird. It's not progressive at all. Like you'd think that.
Yeah, if you
You
can't
think they
Maybe
shouldn't have age gap
16-year-olds
laws?
shouldn't be able to just consent to anybody.
Yeah, no, you really
Age
should.
gap law, for example, hold on. The age gap law here in New York is 4 years, meaning if you're in high school, like you're a freshman and your boyfriend's a senior, or vice versa,
What's the
the
age of
boyfriend and
consent in
girlfriend,
New York?
18.
18.
So if a 18-year-old sleeps with a 20-year-old, that's legal, correct? Because they're
Yes, it
protected
would
by
be.
the age gap law. I'm
Well,
saying in
18 as an
states.
adult.
So if a 17-year-old sleeps with a 20-year-old, they're protected by the age gap law, correct?
Yes, they would
I
be.
guess they would be
Right.
if they
No,
can
stop.
prove that. If they can prove.
TikTok. I'm not done. What I'm saying is states where the age of consent is 16, what protections are in place for those children? Because they are literally still children.
Okay, if they have an age gap law, I mean that would be protection for them. But if they don't, then that's just wrong. Yeah.
I was gonna say the age gap
Yeah,
law
but like
doesn't.
in New York, you said it's. Can I fucking finish? Jesus. In New York, you said the age of consent is 18. There are states where it's 16. You said the age gap law is 4 years. So that would theoretically mean if this same age gap law applied, that a 15-year-old could consent to a 19-year-old, which would be fucking weird, right?
I don't think it should be 4-year gap, but I think the maximum should be like a 2-year gap, and the age of consent should be 18 everywhere, and it should be
That
no
was
more
my
than a
point.
2-year
Is that
gap.
the age of consent in some states is too low, regardless of if age gap laws exist or not.
I think we can all agree on
Wait,
that.
so I have a question to that then,
Yeah, because
Russell.
if
So
you can't vote, if you can't vote, you shouldn't be able to get married and be
wait,
having
hold on.
kids.
I want to ask
Yeah.
Russell a question then. 'Cause I'm a little confused by what she said. So if a freshman in ninth grade decides to date a senior in 12th grade, should the 12th grader be
That would
persecuted?
be fucking weird. Like
Especially
a
if they
14-year-old
were
dating an
18 when they
18-year-old?
started dating. Yeah.
It is
Like, it
legal
would be
for
like
a
14
senior
years.
high school to date a
Persecuted
freshman,
if
but
they
that
let
doesn't make
that
it any
happen.
less weird.
Everybody
So
cannot talk
two,
at once.
so two minors in the same collegiate, in the same educational place, one minor should be able to be thrown in jail.
No, so
You
if
can't
they're
just use
under
the word
18,
minor
they
as a
cannot
catch-all to
violate
like.
No, because if they're like, that would be assent, right? That wouldn't be like consent if they're both minors. Like
Okay,
minors.
only an adult can be charged with statutory
Yeah.
rape.
If they're under 18, then yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying though. So like for example, when I graduated, I was 17, right? So I know some people because their birthdays are different, they graduate at 18. They graduate and they're already 18, right? So what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying though is as soon as the
I know
17-year-old
what you're trying to
becomes
say,
18,
but you're not listening
yeah,
to what I'm saying.
that's what
I'm
I'm
saying
confused.
that,
I want to hear that.
yeah. I'm saying that there are states where the age of consent is low, like 14 or 16. Do you believe that those age gap laws, like the 4-year age gap law, should be in place in those states, or that the age of consent should just be 18?
It should be 18 everywhere, at least.
My thing, okay, all right. So what
By
should that? I
age
guess
of
that's the part
consent, we
that.
mean like being able to consent to someone over 18. So I also
Yes.
believe that
Over
No,
someone
you see,
over
okay, that's my
18.
point. No, no one should ever, no one over 18 should be trying to date someone younger,
Okay,
right?
cool. We're on the same page, right? We're on the
I'm
same
just
page.
talking about if they already were dating prior to the one party turning 18. That's what my mind is thinking about.
Yeah, and I'm saying that there are states where a 16-year-old is able to consent to adults.
You mean if they were already, if they can prove they were already
Yeah.
dating before that, before the other one turned into an adult? Because you can't start it once you're an adult. It has to start while they're both minors, and you have to be able to prove that.
So here's the problem with like to just keep expanding on this. A 14-year-old, right? Like you said, a 9th grader and a 12th grader. So a 14-year-old consenting to someone that's about to turn 18. Should a 14-year-old still be able to consent to that person, period, once they've turned 18? I mean, the idea that a 9th grader and a 12th grader in your mind is okay is kind of wild to me in the first place. But with these laws in place, that 14-year-old, if they were dating beforehand, once they become 18, they're still allowed to consent to them according to these age gap laws. Are you saying that's okay?
What should be the age gap low? I don't think 4 years sounds way too high for me. I would think.
But their point is that these laws exist in states where the age of consent is already very low.
He said that everything should be 18. The consent should be 18.
Yeah, it should be 18 everywhere.
He said it should
That
be
would
18
take care of that.
Yeah.
So
he said even in those states where it's 16, it should be 18. It shouldn't be 16 or 14. It should be 18.
So Finish, you agree with that?
Right.
But
So
if
then
they
the
were
problem
dating prior
becomes
to becoming adults, then depending on the age
My
gap,
thing is when they're both minors. That's what, like I said, for example, New York, when they're both minors, there's an age gap law of 4 years.
where do you draw the line
Because
at minor? If you keep saying minor like a catch-all, like do you accept that there's an
Because
age in
I'm
minors
talking
where like
about high
one minor?
schoolers. Again, I'll answer your question. I'm talking about specific high schoolers, and I'm specifically talking about because in most schools, I think everywhere, they have a tradition of prom. So normally children are dating each other before they graduate. So
Yes, I
my thing
understand what you're
is,
saying. It's like these people would have gone to the same high school, so they would have been like old enough or young enough to know each other and date.
Yeah, but I don't think the law should
Exactly.
protect in that case. I don't think a what do you call the first one when you first come into school? You're 14, dating
A
a senior.
freshman.
Yeah, I don't think the senior should have protection once they turn 18.
yeah,
because
because you're
it's
about to
just
go
too
to
big of a
college,
gap.
man. What are you doing with a 14-year-old? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if
I
it,
totally
if she was already 16, if she was already 16, yeah, it's a 2-year gap. I mean, there's you might want protection in that case, but a 14-year-old is just too big of a gap.
There are like cities where you can't even be out past
They don't even
9.
want the older guys.
There are like cities where you can't even be out past 9 p.m. if you're under the age of like 17. So like without like your parents present. So how is a fucking 18-year-old gonna be dating a 14-year-old or 15-year-old?
also, I was a late bloomer. I didn't get my first like period until I was 16. So like it's all about maturity too. Like we should just assume that you're not fully developed until you're 18. You should only be consenting to adults if you are an adult.
I think the fact that kids turn 18 in high school is one of the things that gets problematic with this, because at the 18, everybody looks at you as you're grown, yet you're in the building with all these kids. So you're not a minor technically. Your peers are minors. All your classmates might be minors, but the kids that are actually 18 by the time they are seniors, they are technically grown adults. So I think that's the school system that kind of got that one there. I don't know.
But even so, I mean, in some schools it's different, but generally at least most boys get through high school without ever having schmecks, or even without ever having a steady girlfriend. Most do, over 50%.
So I was like, I'm not trying to be funny, but I remember girls in high school dating guys that were not in high school. They were not even interested in the seniors, if you catch my drift. So
Yeah, that happens.
I
they
remember
were not
having
interested.
Intentions
So
are
you
kind
had
of
to,
weird.
oh, that's nasty. If he 18 and he with his freshman, right, he couldn't even get a freshman because that girl was probably 15, 16, and she wanted a dude that was 19, 20, had his own car and could pick her up from school and everything else.
When I was in high school, I had a friend, and I used to call her 23 because she was 16 and her boyfriend was 23. She had that relationship with her parents.
I grew up with a lot of women like that too. I now, I know what it was, but I grew up with a lot. They were not interested. Boy, like he said, boys will tell you they did not. A lot of guys did not blossom in high school, which is why they honestly started internalizing hate for women. Some of them, a lot of them didn't. Girls, some girls, I'm not saying everybody, but some girls, particular girls who were more fully developed and a little more mature and a little more, they looked at the high school guys as childish. They didn't have jobs, they didn't have money. They were doing the same thing you were doing. Even if you did turn 18 in high school, I guarantee an 18-year-old boy in high school is childish. I guarantee he's giving 16-year-old vibes. Like, so yeah, like they was on it with the older guys. I used to tell my friends, look, be careful. That's, I don't know about that.
Yeah, the most
Yeah,
abusive
high school.
relationship I was in was dating an adult when I was a minor. I do not recommend ever doing that. That is wrong, and I was taken advantage of because I was young. Just because they're older doesn't mean they're more mature ladies.
I personally wouldn't allow that as a parent, but my thing, for example,
I
right
kept
now,
it a secret. To be fair, they didn't know about it.
which normally is
Yeah,
what
of course
happens.
you-
That's
of
what I'm
course you
saying. In
hit
these
it.
situations, what
If-
do we do legally? Yeah,
What
like
would have happened
I
if
knew
you
what I was doing was wrong, but like at the same time, the adult in that situation should have not been doing that. Like,
what would have happened if your father had found out about it?
he probably would have unalived him.
Yeah.
And
The same thing
I
happened to-
acknowledge that. No, I'm not saying what I did was cool, but I'm younger, so like naturally, women are taught when ladies when we're younger, we're taught that older men are more mature. We're socialized that way, so we think in our heads that they're more mature and that they'll take care of us. So that's why some girls do that. It's not okay, but it's not our fault that we're taught that.
I find it kind of funny though having this conversation because a lot of people are assuming I'm speaking from the perspective of the guy, like who's dating a younger girl. In my situation, my girlfriend was older than me, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know exactly what I would say. Like I couldn't picture me at 16, my girlfriend being 19, her going to jail because she was dating me since we were younger. Like I don't know.
I'm gonna be really honest with you. I actually had this conversation on another panel this week, and I have spoken to a lot of men who have lost their virginity to women much older than them, and I do not think that's okay, and I think that is predatory of women. I'm not gonna stand here and hold a standard for like men and not hold the same standard for women. I do not think that's okay.
Now, if you guys were dating for like, you said you were 16, she was 19. If you were like 13 and she was 16 and you've been dating ever since, I guess. But even still, like, I'm not saying that, she is a predator or that, you were, whatever the way it is. It's just, it's strange. The dynamic is a little strange, especially in your formative years. Like, if you're like a 25-year-old, dating a 28-year-old is not much different. But dating a 14-year-old when you're 18, 17, like, you're gone through puberty, you are about to go to college, you've had more life experience. Like, there's a big difference in those ages when you're much younger.
Well, it's up to parents. I mean, it's impossible to guarantee and keep your kids from doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. You can't always guarantee it, but some parents don't even try. I mean, I gotta tell you, I know where my one is an adult now, but my younger one too. I have known where they are 24/7, 365 their entire life. I know where they are, where they're supposed to be. As soon as they started going to school by themselves, they got a phone. I track the phone. I check the phone. I have access to the phone all the time. I don't often go through it.
Can I tell you
but
something?
if I want to check it, I say, hand me your phone, and they know that I'm gonna check it. So obviously, if they were gonna do something, and I have found stuff. By the way, I have found stuff
My
that they
parents
shouldn't
did
be
that
having,
too.
and I say, okay, this is not that big of a deal. So I'm gonna pretend that I didn't even see it, because there's no need to make a big deal about this.
So I want to tell you something about the tracking thing. I actually do kind of support parents tracking like their kids' phone or like people sharing their location with other people. Like I share my location with my parents and I'm fucking 25. But I will tell you that in high school, a lot of parents did that to their kids, and they would just leave their phones in their cars and ride with somebody else off campus, or put their phones in their friend's backpack, or like have their friend be where they were supposed to be.
Or have
So
their friend use their phone and text their parents like they were they were
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, kids are smart. Yeah, they'll figure it out. I blocked on them. Well, they're minors. I blocked browser access, so they couldn't open Safari or Google Chrome and search for corn. And they figured out ways to go get around it. They'll go to this weather app, and through the weather app, they could gain access to the internet. So that it's a constant struggle. You just gotta keep trying, and you know, you can't get
Yeah,
mad at
it's
it.
okay to protect them. I'm not judging your parenting style, but what I am saying is my parents were strict like that too. I used to have to turn my phone in. The way I got around my parents' rules was he used to pull up in the parking lot after school, and we used to hang out until I had to go home.
I would.
So it looks like you're still in school, right?
Question.
Yes,
Can we
exactly.
can we let Tyra say what she or they needed for a second though? Because they've been sitting up here for a minute.
And yep, also.
Oh yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, because what I came up for when I came up was about the original discussion, and this.
Yeah, honestly, Tyra, go
Oh,
right ahead. We
everything.
need to get back on topic, so go for it. Just say what you got to say.
Because now it's feeling kind of old, but hey, if you guys don't mind, the whole consent thing, that's why I was up here. And Melody, she came up here on fire, honey, and I think a lot of people, including Derek,
Guys, I don't want to interrupt you. I do want to apologize if I did, rub anybody the wrong way. Like I said, I do get excitability. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I know it can come off very aggressive. I did apologize to Sierra before she left, but just for everybody else, including the host, thank you for having me. I do apologize if it came off aggressive, but thanks, Tyra. I'm gonna go ahead.
Melody, honestly, you're fine.
I'm not gonna tone police you.
You did say that you get excited. I understand that, like, being passionate about some topics, you're fine. And there have been way more aggressive people on this panel. Yeah, no, there have been you from what I've heard, you were barely even aggressive so far this week. Okay, like there are people that come up here saying some wild shit. Continue, Tyra.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with her. And I felt I was honestly, before you guys even let me up here, I was speaking like that, like to myself out loud. I'm like, how is that not consent? And she offered her, like, so maybe I'm just like Melody, and I'm not gonna, come off like that to you guys, but that's how I feel, because as far as it is still consent, even though it is a mess up situation. She had her back up against the wall. But it does not say she was going to get evicted. It does say she was worried about eviction, just like anyone would if they were in that predicament, right? Job loss or financially struggling. Any landlord will, nowadays a lot of people don't have much compassion, although there are a lot of people that do, and that would, try to work something out or give a little extra time. But being realistic, the economy is hard and everything, inflation, people want their money. Landlords are not taking any shorts, So naturally, I feel she was worried about eviction, but she consented because, it was an offer. And I'm not going to make assumptions and say if someone else had offered that same deal, maybe she would have taken it. Like, I don't want to add that because I know how you guys feel about, throwing things in there, but I feel like I understand everyone on here, especially it being morally wrong, and I feel like that feeling of how messed up it is makes a lot of people also feel like that's not consent, along with legalities. But it technically, I feel like it is. I technically feel like it is because, again, you have fear, you got bills, you're like, oh, what am I going to do? It was a solution. She took it. And again, I feel he is sick. I feel that, it was predatory and all of that. It's like someone said in a comment, an indecent proposal, unfortunately,
Can I ask, if there was a threat of eviction, would you then say it's not consent?
I honestly still would say it is. I would just feel like he kind of did her wrong. It was like vindictive. Now I'm definitely gonna evict you. You get what I'm saying?
So-
Like I would feel
Yeah.
that he
but I'm
would be
saying-
on that type of energy.
I'm saying
I
if he
just thought
came to her in like a different hypothetical, right? If he said, if you don't spend the weekend with me, I'm going to evict you, would you still say if she said yes, that's consent?
I mean, because in a way, yeah, even though it's almost like she had no choice, but technically she still could, if that is the case, right? If that was another case, she still could say no, all right, and I'm going to fight this because that is illegal. You get it? She still does not have to say yes. She still does not have to consent. And like how Melody was saying, she has other options, and that's not an assumption. That's just reality.
What would the other options be, do you think?
I said that there's organizations in the community that help payment assistance. There's a lot of poor people in the world, y'all. Like y'all know, like
that's not
there's
I think
Yeah,
there's
but
I think what she's
organizations specifically
I
for
get her
women
back
who-
was against the wall. Like we get it. That's really, it's not life or death though. You get it? It's still,
what you're saying.
I say it's not like
I guess it's different.
I mean,
I guess it's different.
It's a rock and a hard place, but it
Sorry.
ain't life or death. Like
I just want to clarify, yeah. So you're saying if she was paying her rent on time, she didn't have a problem with that. If he
Well, she
just
probably
came and
is.
said, okay, that's it. Either you spend the weekend with me, or I'm gonna evict you or not renew your lease. That's different. That's a threat of eviction.
yeah, and that is like basically
yeah,
her
that's
and all
different.
that. Yeah,
But I know, but
it's
what's
mine,
like
you know?
what you're saying is it's still consent because there are other options, and I understand there are systems that can, like, there are safety nets, right, for these situations, but those safety nets are pretty full right now. Like, I volunteer for an organization that works with victims of DV, and I live in a very, very big city with a lot of crime. I don't want to tell you guys just because I don't like putting my information out there, but the shelters that the people that come to us, like, they're filling up. Sometimes they're full. Sometimes we're like scrambling to find a new place for these women, you know? So like, and I agree with you. Like, there are a lot of great systems, and there are lots of like people that luckily have like communities that are willing to help them. But like, I would argue no way is it consent if someone's threatening eviction, because at that point you're deciding you're like, and homelessness, I guess, of course, not like, it's not immediately life or death. Like, you're not going to become homeless and then immediately die or unalive. Sorry. Like, we know that. But the risk of harm and unaliving goes up so dramatically that essentially her back is against the wall. That's what I would argue.
Yeah,
I got one question.
Point though is the thing, you have a point, but just like Melody was saying too, it not just, she says she threw out the word organizations, but I know she also meant other things. For example, honey, a yard sale, GoFundMe, something like there, you know, it can't, there's I just feel like
and like the body, that the weekend, I'm not spending the weekend. And it also doesn't say that he asked her for sex. It says that he asked her to spend the weekend. So y'all, maybe they were going Netflix and chill and make hot cocoa for all we know. I don't know.
No, Melody,
No,
I
it's
can only
X.
put so many words on the screen and like be TikTok friendly. He's asking for smacks.
Okay, I have a question about.
If we're gonna play semantics, how you guys were trying to play it, he's not. He's not.
So
He's not
if I could fit the entire scenario on this screen that I was proposing when I wrote this, rather than having Chat GPT condense it down for me to be more comprehensible for TikTok. It would have said that a woman is facing financial struggles due to a family illness. She was posing as a caretaker for her family member and missed a lot of work and took a lot of unpaid time off. She eventually lost her job, and now she's, after consistently rejecting this landlord's advances, he offers to cover rent and utilities for 3 months if she spends the weekend with.
Right. And so I wasn't trying to be funny, but I'm saying if we are going to play the semantics game.
Right. So in the scenario, can I finish? In the scenario, she is still like, it's the same scenario, but she's still taking care of this ill family member, and her financial instability is like has been accrued by this illness. It's not because she's irresponsible. She is she's taking care of someone.
Right. And
I have a question.
I'm saying she is, but if you get your car repossessed or if you get put out your house, it is an unfortunate situation, even if it's because you're taking care of relatives or doing other things. I get it. I do have a heart. Like, I'm a humanitarian. I get that. But I don't think that it's a messed up situation to be in, that she's in that situation. But you guys are talking about what's legal and what's consent and what's consent. What's consent is that she legally signed a document that was a lease that stated that she's in violation of her lease the moment she doesn't pay her rent. The moment she doesn't pay her rent, she's in breach of lease. She didn't pay her rent. Like, so
Okay, I get what you're saying. So let's just compartmentalize this for a second then. Do you believe that eviction and homelessness are a threat?
Eviction, yes, eviction and homelessness are a threat. And you know what? There's people who get evicted. Hold on, there's people that get evicted and they just go homeless and they go sleep in homeless shelters. They don't go spend a weekend with their landlord. That's just the case. That's just the truth. And you guys are making it like if there isn't an option, and there is. And that's why the forced
No.
threat
That's
part
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
matter.
Wait, can you wait? That's what I'm saying though. Is like I'm not saying that she hasn't paid her rent yet. I'm saying that she is like on her last leg financially and becomes aware of the situation. She may have gone to him and been like, hey, I'm going to be a little late on rent this month. This is what is happening. Like, I'm really trying to work something out. Do you have any resources that could maybe help me? And he says, well, if you sleep with me, I'll give you cover rent and utilities for the next 3 months. If you don't do that, you're shit out of luck because now I know that you're a broke ass bitch.
He didn't
How would
say
you
that
feel
because
like if
he didn't say that because he doesn't know what her ability looks like to get her rent paid. She's been paying it all along, so he doesn't know what her ability looks like to get it paid.
Right,
That's where the
It
assumption
says
and stuff is coming in.
he's aware of her situation and he posts this.
What
Correct.
about
He's aware
if
that she needs the money and he poses this, but if she were to say no,
So I'm
he don't know how
asking
she's
you
going to get her rent paid.
what about if he
No, I'm
offered
asking you, Melody. If those are the holy shit. I'm asking you, Melody, if those are the circumstances, do you still feel like that's consensual?
Not right. So if the circumstances were, hey, you're behind on your rent, sleep with me, or you gotta go. No, but if you're behind on your rent and I offer to sleep with you, and then you say no, and then you just figure out a way to pay your rent, I'm just a scumbag that tried to, take advantage of you during that time. But you curved me. You went and got your rent paid, and then that's that. Now you got all legal rights to stay there and stand, in the apartment, and there's no foul. But if you go and say, hey, you have to sleep with me.
She's still facing the same threat of homelessness, whether he offered her or not.
Yeah,
That is what I think some people are missing.
I
He is
think
still
that's a
facing
moot
that
point,
same
though.
threat of homelessness.
That's kind of a moot point, though.
No,
It is the threat. No, hold on. It is a threat. You agreed, Melody, right? That eviction and homelessness are a threat. So then the question to this is, please let me finish. Let me finish, Melody. The question then is, are you able to consent under threat?
But here's the thing: that's a threat to your quality of life. I didn't say it's a threat to you. I don't think that her.
So you don't believe that homelessness is a violent threat? So only violent threats constitute coercion.
So it is a violent. Hold on.
Hold on.
it
The
is
thing
a-
is that he's not
wait.
threatening her with that. Let's
No,
say.
tick. Hold on.
Let Tik Tok speak for a minute because I did tell him to shut up several times. So go ahead.
Thank you. So let's say it wasn't the owner. Let's say it was the super of the building who knew you had this problem and he offered to cover the rent. He can't kick you out. The landlord is going to kick you out if you don't pay. The super or your neighbor or a friend offers this solution for you. In that case, the threat is still there. The threat hasn't changed. The landlord in this example is not using his position as a landlord. Say the landlord said, okay, I will give you, let's say the rent is $3,000. He says, $1,000 a month. Says, I will give you $3,000 if you spend the weekend with me. He's not saying you got to give me this is going to cover your rent. He says, I'm going to give you $3,000. You do whatever you want with it. If you don't pay the rent, I'm going to evict you, but you can always pay me with that money. I'm just going to give you $3,000. Is that consent in that case?
Where are you living where rent is $3,000? Damn.
No, I said $3,000 for 3 months.
I mean, where are you living? Yeah, that rent is $1,000 a month. The rent and utilities are $1,000 a month.
I'm just giving you an example.
Wait, are you saying that's
My
expensive? or
personal
cheap?
rent is just barely over 1,000, but I don't live. My rent is okay. It's not the best, but I live on the top floor, so.
Hold on.
Yo, I don't know where y'all people live. That's crazy.
I really want to address this though. So the point is, I want to separate, right? We're not, can you make a consensual choice under threat? I'm not asking you who is putting that threat on you. Can you make a consensual choice when under threat?
So you said you're not saying who put that threat on you.
No,
Yeah,
you
I
can't.
don't
That's the
care
literal
if someone
definition of
else is holding
coercion.
the gun. If someone else is holding a pew pew on somebody, right?
Yeah.
And someone else walks up and says, "Hey, if you do me a favor, I'll get you out of this situation." It doesn't matter where that threat's coming from or who's putting that threat on you. That person is currently under threat.
But how can I
Can
even
that
trust that
person
person?
consent
No,
under
that's
threat?
But how can I even trust that
Yes,
person?
I
You
say
gonna
yes.
come in?
Exactly. That's the thing.
How can I even trust
I
that person?
say
I don't even trust you.
But
You think
just
I'm in danger.
but
No,
can
I
you
you're
say
not
yes.
answering the
but
question,
just
Melody. Melody,
yeah, it's a
can that
yes or
person
no.
consent under threat?
I say yes.
Right? No, but the whole point of threat is coercion. If the person is being threatened, then no, it's not consent. It's coercion. We've already said that.
Okay,
Threat
you
and
just said
coercion
it.
is coercion.
So
No,
it
no,
doesn't
no.
matter
Hold
where
on,
the threat
Odin.
comes from.
No,
It's coercion if the
see, that's what
threat
I'm
is
saying. You
used to
said that
get
wrong.
consent.
It does matter where the threat comes from because she didn't pay her rent.
Exactly. It does
That's not
matter.
Okay, so hold
Y'all
on,
are
hold on,
acting
hold
like
on.
she got
In this
threatened some
example,
other sort of way. There's no other threat. The threat is that she didn't pay her rent, which is
no,
actually
no,
her
no.
being in breach. Her being in breach of this man. She ain't paying this man his money.
I think he's trying to use the threat of, all that comes with homelessness, right? The danger. And to me, I don't feel like that should kind of apply because, like, she's exactly
Right,
as Melvin's saying.
yeah, the point I'm making is that I've faced near homelessness. I'm not gonna go sleep with anybody, even when they offered. I had offers to do. I know I could have done that if I
Right.
wanted to. I'm not gonna go.
But now you're using this as an example of saying, well, that threat doesn't carry the same weight to me as it does to somebody else.
No, I'm not
The
telling you that.
question
I'm telling
is,
you that
you've
the
already
threat
said that it's a threat.
Here's
And it-
what is she put herself in?
Conflating.
She's not paying her bills, Odin. What are you talking about? She brought the threat onto herself of being homeless. Do you not get that? Whether it was because she had sick relatives, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to be mean. It's the world. These people don't care. People will put you out and evict you out of a home if you don't pay them. They have a family to feed too.
Right.
They have a
Okay,
right
but
to
hold
feed
on,
too.
hold on. So again, we're going to go back to this. If
No,
I walk up in a situation where you are being robbed by somebody else, and I tell you that if you do me a
I don't
favor,
want to have that discussion. If we can talk about the prompt, let's talk about the prompt. But you're
no,
starting to add in other stuff.
Hold
And
on.
it's
A
not
better
I'm not
making
trying
sense.
to add in
Okay,
other stuff. I'm trying to
let's give you a
demonstrate to
better.
you that it does
Hold
not
on.
matter
How about
No,
this?
who
everybody
is
needs to
placing the
stop
threat.
talking at once. Everybody needs to stop talking at once. There are new
She's a
people.
threat
Yep,
in this
have you,
situation.
Melody? 1 second, please. Yep, have you had a chance to speak yet? I don't know that I've seen you come off mute.
Not about the prompt, but I have interjected a few times, with little statements.
Okay. Would you like to add something to the conversation about the prompt?
That would be appreciated. I wasn't trying to be rude and interrupting everybody. Everybody was still, talking all at once, and it's really hard to
Yeah, you kind of just have to interject and weasel your way into these conversations. So yep, if you want to add, and then Marky, if you want to add, and then if the rest of you want to go back to the main conversation at hand, let's do it that way.
Okay, so if you want to speak technically about everything, she says yes, right? That is clear cut, yes is consent. It is not, 1, an enthusiastic yes. 2, I personally feel like that is consent under coercion. Because you are essentially saying, and she knows this threat is real, she signed that contract. You sleep with me, I cover your bills. You don't, your bills aren't covered. And in her mind, that is a viable threat. In a court of law, there is a very good chance, if she has the right lawyer, he will get a heavier sentence or a larger charge due to the fact of it is a perceived threat to her. Right? You say that it's not a threat directly to her, but I mean, at the same time, if it was a loved one, a lot of people would have a lot different energy.
No, I
No,
wouldn't because
excuse
where's
me.
the threat in the situation?
I'm so
Can anybody point out the threat? Where's the threat? Let's point that out.
No, the thing is, the threat still exists already. You get it? Because she's not able to pay it. He just, he's just coming with, I'll
That's what
cover
I'm
it.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Y'all throwing the word threat around loosely, but y'all gotta understand that threat is a threat to someone is literally assault. So yeah.
Not all
like
threats
they're
have to
saying
be
to
physically
some people,
violent.
it's assault.
No, assault
So
doesn't mean physical violence. It's
I've already
perceived
pointed
violence.
this out to you. I've already pointed this out to you that taking advantage of someone's financial insecurity or financial instability, their immigration status, their mental health, those are all tactics of sexual violence. They are.
So Odin, I have an example. Like you gave that example of if somebody was getting robbed. How about if she has a financial trouble and she can't pay her rent, and she goes to a street corner to beg for money? She makes up a placard that says, "I need help paying rent. Can you please contribute?" And some random guy comes up in a car and says, "Oh, so I'll give you enough money to take care of your problem if you spend the weekend with me." Is he coercing her too?
According to their logic, yeah.
Can I hop?
That in all of these scenarios, in the scenario that Tik just proposed, and most of the scenarios everyone's proposed, and in the prompt, the landlord could have just given her the money. Clearly, he's willing to offer it, right? So he's willing to offer her this money. He has the means to do so, but he'll only do it if they have schmecks. So I don't think that's perspective we're really looking at. I think we're almost talking about.
And you can just
Pardon me, I couldn't hear you. Go ahead. I just couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I guess, okay, so I guess here's my thing with the whole threat term, and I would agree. So when you guys say the threat, right, here's the thing. If I sign a lease to say I'm going to pay my rent every month, and then I lose my job, and now I'm no longer able to pay my rent, are these people threatening me with eviction, or are they simply exercising their right to make sure that I'm adhering to the contract that we signed to?
It's still, I mean, they would still call that a threat of eviction. Like
Right.
that's
It is threat of eviction.
Okay, right. So the threat of eviction, but because I have every right to do this, though. You did not pay me my money. You did not pay me my money.
Sure,
Wait.
but
Let
hold
me.
on, can I just finish? Can I finish, please? But he is not threatening that. Instead, he's saying, "I'll pay for your rent if you have schmecks with me." My point is that he would only be threatening eviction in this scenario if she said no. You see what I'm saying? Like he's only going to start threatening eviction if she says no, because he's made it clear he has the means to do this and he's willing to do
y'all
it.
adding in extra stuff because it says nothing about that.
Okay,
So
well here, I'll shut this down real quick.
nothing
I
about
got you guys. Ready? Watch this. Okay, so sexual harassment by housing providers is illegal under the Fair Housing Act and other federal laws. Sexual harassment can include requesting for sexual favors. So at any point, he is doing an illegal act to get himself something he wants. He should never, ever, as a housing holder, be using that as a leverage for him to get some form of favor that he wants after 5 years of literally harassing, because clearly it's not been the first time that he's done this. It says has been rejecting him consistently. So that means that he has been harassing her. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter if it was consensual or not. It's not okay.
But so
Yeah, but it wouldn't. But he couldn't be charged with rape.
Hold on.
Because the word,
Bro,
the
you just
word
came
there is
in.
Okay,
Shut
so
anything
I
down.
think what you guys are doing is you're conflating the fact that I'm asking if it's consensual with the idea that he is a rapist.
Yeah, it wouldn't be grape. It would be something else.
Okay, here's the thing. This is why I said earlier I wasn't trying to be funny, but if what you guys are saying is that there is a law that prevents this dynamic from happening, then obviously yes, there is a law to support that. So
why do you think they support it though?
I'm not trying, huh?
Why do you think the government supports things like this?
No, but that's not the point. The point I'm making. The point I'm making is that this is a mute discussion. Then, if this is the scenario and this scenario is illegal, then he's absolutely in the wrong. Obviously, if this is a scenario and what he's doing is illegal by law, because you guys just pulled up some sort of statute that says that it's illegal, then yes, obviously it's illegal. But that is not what the discussion was about in the beginning. Nobody pulled up a statute that said under this law, under this protection, this person, and he's a landlord, and this is how it goes, and blah blah blah. He cannot ask her for sexual favors. If you guys would have said that it's illegal to ask her for sexual favors as the landlord, that's a different type of law. You guys are saying it's coercion, it's a power dynamic. Yeah, he is her landlord.
It is a power dynamic. That's the reason why that's why there's a Fair Housing Act law. So that people don't use their power to take advantage of people who are but it's something that's
this is the first time y'all brought that up. So I don't
know. They said
Hold on. If I can. Hold on, if I can, real quick. You're trying to make it seem like they're doing this because of the power dynamic. That is absolutely untrue. The reason why they do it is because if women could actually use that ability, how would it even be controlled or taxed or regulated in a shape if they can legally tender their bodies for favors?
I'm
It's not due to the
sorry.
safety of other people.
Wait, what?
No, absolutely not. It's due
That's
to the
so
fact
wild that
that
you just
people
had, like, I
impel
can't believe
sexual
that.
violence onto women consistently, and it would be weaponized against them if it was not illegal. The same reason why Title IX is a thing and all these other protections exist that mainly target women, like to protect them.
And to be honest, it really just shows what you think about the whole situation. I'm gonna be 100% honest. You think that the woman is the problem.
No, I don't. because
Nobody
I
said there was a
women-
problem with the woman. Who said
No,
that?
no,
Who
but
is
the first
blaming her for
conflation.
anything?
No, the first
Blaming something I
conflation.
never
Nobody's
said.
blaming
No,
her.
no. You
Nobody
just flat
here.
out said
Wait,
the
wait.
reason
Nobody
why.
blamed
No,
her
I'm
here
not
for
finished.
anything.
Hey, TikTok. I'm not
No,
talking.
nobody blamed her for
Hey,
anything. Don't
TikTok.
bring
I'm not
that up.
talking to you. TikTok. I'm not talking to you. Let me finish something. Let me finish something. You just said that the entire reason for sexual harassment protection with the Fair Housing Act is all because that women would use their bodies. That is conflating that it's the only reason why they made that law, and you flat out said that too, that the only reason why that law is in existence is because of women.
Prostitution is illegal too. So is that?
I didn't say that that's a reason. You see, you're conflating stuff. I did not say that. I said the reason why they made such a thing.
Finit. If that's not what you said, that is really what it sounded like you were saying. So maybe go ahead and like say it in
It
a
goes back to
different
my
way.
original point. It goes back to my original point talking about how prostitution is not legalized. That's what it goes back to. That original point. It's
Oh,
not
do me a
legalized.
favor. No. Before anybody interjects, do me a favor and restate what you were trying to say. Because the way you said it, like
Okay.
you telling me that it going back to your original point is not changing the way that it was interpreted. So go ahead and like restate and make it sound more closer to what you were trying to say. Because it sounded really wild.
Like I said before, the reason why they create these laws that don't allow for the exchange of sexual favor isn't for extortion or anything like that at all, because it goes back to the fact that prostitution in this country has never been legalized. It's never been allowed, mainly due to the fact of puritanical values when we were founded. But going forward into that, the main reason why is because they had no way to control it. It was never to be beneficial to anyone, like they actually give a damn. Politicians do not operate that way. They don't at all. Like, for example, why is some drugs legal one year and then they change the next year? It's because they found out a way that they can profit off of it. The
Wait, can you
same
get
way
a
with,
source on that?
for example, Cash App, right? I don't know if anybody knows this, between Cash App and Zelle. They had an issue with Cash App and Zelle, and they've been trying to forever create a system that they can now tax you for sending money to each other, because it's money moving back and forth that they cannot control. It's the same concepts. It's all the same.
Like, you realize people lobby for laws, right? Like, you realize that some of these laws didn't exist. People realized that it was a problem, lobbied for them because they were morally correct, and then got them passed. Like, you realize not all laws were created.
So
just
for
by
that
random
example,
politicians thinking stuff up, right?
if you think people lobby for things that are morally correct, right, just to be morally correct, then how come it was even possible to undo civil rights within this country?
I'm sorry?
How was it possible to undo civil rights in this country?
I don't understand what you're asking, because the
You're
fact that
saying
we
they
had
do
a
it.
civil
You're
rights
saying they're doing
movement
it for
was
moral
exactly
reasons.
people lobbying for
They
laws that were
lobby for
morally
laws for
correct.
moral reasons. You said they lobby for laws for moral reasons. I'm just going off what you just said. If that is the case, how come were
Not
they able to undo
unilaterally in a
civil rights?
vacuum as if that's the only reason.
Okay, so
But people do
Jesus.
lobby
All
for
right, whatever,
laws for
dude.
moral reason. It's the only reason that we have civil rights in the country to begin with, is because people said it is morally apprehensible that we do not, and lobbied to push those
You just tried
laws.
to make the point that they're doing this because people lobby for
No,
good
I
things,
never
and
said
that's these
only.
laws.
You said only.
No, so what he's saying is that
What?
people lobby for certain laws, and then you're saying that some of those laws get overturned or people get rid of them, but they're two separate occurrences. Like, so grassroots organizations and different groups can lobby for laws and change, and then that change happens. And then what you're talking about happens. Different politicians or different powers at the time decide to change those laws. It's just the cycle. So people are definitely lobbying for good laws. The Mothers Against Drunk Driving lobbied to get the age of drinking increased, and now nationally the drinking age has increased, and that was because of a group of women that lobbied for it.
It's been 21. I don't think that's
But-
changed nationally at all.
No,
there
no,
are
they
some.
changed it
There are
because
some.
they changed it because of
Started
Mothers
when I was
Against
in
Drunk
high school.
Driving. This was a while ago. I'm not saying this happened recently, but it was a while ago. They lobbied, and what happened? So there's actually no federal law for the legal drinking age, but there's a specific amount of funding and federal assistance that states get when they maintain the drinking law at the age of 21. And that happened because it happened a while ago. It didn't happen in the 21st century, but that happened because people started lobbying because lots of people were dying when they were drunk driving. You see what I'm saying? So like what Sun is saying to you is that people lobby for good laws, and then what you're saying is, well, those laws get people get rid of them, and that's true, but they're two separate things.
Right. The two are not mutually exclusive.
If, for example, for what I was saying before, it goes back to the fact that prostitution is not legal in this country, and I'm telling you, what's preventing it from happening is because they cannot control it.
That's
my whole point.
solely your opinion, though. That is solely
That
your
is straight.
opinion.
Yeah, that is opinion. That there's no actual, unless you have some like research that you can actually show that that's actually factual. You're just making like allegations, and it's not actually fact. Like you're not showing facts. Like I would love to know where you can show me this is factually happening, and that's the reason.
So I have a
There has to be
question.
some
Okay,
information.
so hold on. Okay, so you want to talk about facts then? All right, fine. So what happened exactly was the issue with the war on drugs? Why were some drugs legalized, not legalized, but had less sentences versus others?
I don't know the exact laws and reasons for that because I haven't done enough research on that to be sitting there and making claim on something like that.
Okay, because it was entirely, and I don't want to get like racial, like it's an issue with that. Like I don't really care about any of that, but I'm just saying though, it was clearly a racial issue because they wanted to be able to criminalize the Black community to make them suffer in prison more than the white community because cocaine was more expensive utility. I don't want to say the D word. And it was not able to get into those communities because they couldn't afford it anyway. You understand? When it comes to
Oh
control,
yeah,
it's how they
okay. So you're talking
populace.
about that. Yeah,
It's
I
there's
agree.
proof of this. There's proof of this happening prior in our history when they do these kind of things. Same thing with prohibition. So why it's so hard for anybody to be like, oh yeah, they do the same thing with sex work. Like what? Why does that sound so far fetched? It's something they cannot tax. They couldn't control it. How? They're gonna put chips in people's bodies?
How
Like
they-
what?
how they- Wait, are you saying like how they do, like how they did marijuana, where it was like all these people were going to jail for
Exactly.
marijuana, and then they
They-
legalized it.
they-
Now the
they
federal
affected-
government has
Wait, use the TikTok.
Mary,
Melody, they're saying use TikTok friendly
TikTok
terms if you're
friendly.
going to talk about it.
Yeah, you just need to use TikTok friendly language instead of like
Mary
can you say like Mary Jane or something, or is that okay? Do you think it will get flagged?
Yeah,
devil's
I wouldn't even say that.
Call it the devil's lettuce.
the devil's lettuce. So I do think now.
That's not
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know about the other scenario. I'm not gonna speak on something I don't know, but I know for a fact that African American males were getting really harsh devil's lettuce sentences when they were getting charged with these things. And then all of a sudden the government came and they swooped in, they made it legal. They said, oh, we have all this research to suggest that it's actually medicinal. First off, that already existed anyway. So they said, oh, well, we have all this research and now it's illegal. And now we're going to have dispensaries and now we're going to control them. Oh, and now we can decriminalize it now. Now we can
exactly. And if you can look it up on,
we cannot put you in jail for 10 years for having a quarterback now. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little tricky. I don't want to get into politics because that ain't my thing. But yeah, it's interesting.
If you look at the SEC, you can find out that the majority, and I mean the vast majority of dispensaries are owned by non ethnic people, whatever.
Absolutely.
So how is this a one-to-one comparison with what we're talking about?
What I'm talking about, because I said, because my statement was simple, because it's not something that can be regulated, it is not legalized. That was
Right,
my
which is
whole
just a
point.
best
It
guess
was a
opinion
morals
that you
comment.
have.
It was a morals comment that y'all were on. It was a morals comment.
But the law Marky was talking about was to protect women. It wasn't about, like, you're talking about a separate issue, which is very true and it is a problem, but the law Marky's talking about protects women. It protects women from, and men too, sure, but it protects people from being taken advantage of, kind of like in the prompt. So that's
Right.
why
And
that law's
if
in
that's
place.
a law, the point I'm making is like, if that's a law, y'all, here's the thing. Why would anybody come up here and not agree on the panel if it's a law and if it's a statute? The problem is that nobody actually came up and said that. Y'all are bringing the Fair Housing Act into it now. And I do appreciate y'all for providing that clarity, because if it's illegal for a landlord to do that, absolutely this man is, but you can't say for me to answer the prompt and then and in my head I'm thinking that this is not illegal, but then you're like, it is illegal. If it's illegal and you have proof that it's illegal, then it's obviously illegal. What are we
Actually,
talking
I
about?
want to
Here's the
clarify. There was a
question.
person before me in the same spot who actually did say it was illegal
They
earlier.
did.
I was here for that.
I think it was Tyler, right?
This is the first time we're hearing about the Fair Housing Act. Nobody ever
I think so,
brought that up until whoever just brought it up.
Yeah, we did talk about it a little
Fair
bit in
Housing Act,
Title
but it was
IX,
restated
and we
in the
talked
comment.
about the definitions of consent. Finette was here, but you were not, Melody.
So I would have never even came up here, because again, I don't like to argue mute points. If it's illegal, it's obviously illegal. It's written in paper. I'm not going to debate about something that's written in paper.
This is what I'm trying to get at. So this isn't meant to be like an argument. This is more meant to be a discussion to kind of talk about consent and the lack of understanding around consent, and like in certain gray areas that people may not be willing to address normally. And potentially there may be some people that can benefit from these conversations or reflect and be like, hey, I went through that and that was not right. Or be like, I don't ever want to put anyone in that situation, because that really doesn't seem consensual now that we've spoken about it.
If you guys want to educate us, what you could have done was pull up the Fair Housing Act, put that on the screen next to it, and say, look, if you have ever experienced that, or if people are experiencing this, just know that this is illegal. Your landlord cannot offer you favors. You see what I'm saying? Then that makes more sense in my head. Like,
I think Russell was
question
more.
for you.
then educate people on it that way. If we're confused on consent or
No,
whether
but
this
this
is
is the-
illegal,
No, I'm not
Please
saying
hold for
it's
a
my
second,
job
Melody.
to educate you.
The point of this is that it's a discussion, right? So it now allows this question of, okay, you originally said that it was creepy, weird, and he was a scumbag for it. Morally, you found it kind of gray and weird and not acceptable, but you still thought it was okay because you didn't think there was anything legally saying it wasn't okay. But now that you know it's illegal, right?
Correct.
And also you find it morally apprehensible, scummy, and bad, you're like, okay, then it wasn't consent and it's illegal. It's a moot point. So why did the legality suddenly make the decision for you?
The
When
legality
all
makes
the
it
other factors were already there.
No, that's not fair to say, because you're saying, why does the legality matter? Exactly why justice matter. Exactly why the details of cases matter. What do you mean? And the legality matters because it's in
So
black and white.
legality, it used to be legal for me to beat my wife, right? Was that
No,
morally
hold on,
correct?
let me finish. It's in black and white. That's why the legality matters, because it's in black and white, and you cannot refute black and white. You can't
Yes, you
refute
can.
black and white.
Yes, you can, because we've had morally apprehensible laws in place in this country for hundreds of years, right? And just because it's legal doesn't mean that it is morally okay now. Like, it can't be morally apprehensible, but it's legal for me to do, so it's okay for me to do.
Yeah,
right?
that's like if we were to take away like the
Still we're saying it's
sex
still
or schmex trafficking against kids. Like, if that wasn't a law, would it still be like morally apprehensible, or would it be okay?
But that's right. But,
You know what I mean?
y'all are okay. I understand what y'all are saying, but what I'm saying, y'all presented the scenario. Y'all presented the scenario, right?
Even with
And-
it, even with I,
Go ahead.
I
Even
get,
with,
I think I get exactly what
me-
Melody's saying, because at first I was. If like you guys are saying, oh, if we're saying it's legal, now you're switching it up, right? It's not consensual all of a sudden. But no, the thing is, you guys are the ones who kept bringing up statutes, and according to landlord tenant, you cannot do. You guys were bringing that up. For example, me and Melody were saying like it's still, whether illegal or not, it's still consent. But that was you guys' argument. The legality.
yeah, see, that's what I'm trying to say as well. My point, if I may, my point hasn't actually changed at all, because again, my original point is that would very much well, if I can't think of, if a person cannot do that, right? then it would never be okay for an SW to ever use herself as a legal tender to someone. You understand? Offer a service for a service. That the logic still applies in my head. Even though he's the one who brought up the proposition, she has the ability to refuse it. But if she was okay with it and she said, "Okay, yeah, I have no problem. I'll do this for that,"
So wait,
then
so
it's cool.
We know the details.
we also
Guys,
are
can
we
you pause for a second, please? Halston, you
I've
were
been here
up
for 3
here
hours already.
yesterday, I feel like.
Oh, was it?
No, you came up here
This.
yesterday. You weren't really making sense.
Oh,
So,
yeah, different scenario. Okay.
but you were not making sense when you were speaking. So I want to make sure that you are okay and like lucid about the conversation currently before I have you up here.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a no. Can I speak?
I think he's frozen.
That was great.
He's staying froze. But
No, I don't think he's frozen.
yeah, but like I said, my point still stands off the general principle of the fact that I think SW should be legal. So if it is, that means a person won't be allowed to then under their body for service or whatever.
No, what I don't. My whole thing is this. What I
Yeah,
don't
so
like. What I
he
don't
is-
like is that I can't change my.
Melody, 1 second.
Go ahead. Okay.
So, Halston, your connection is bad. Are you going to participate in this conversation and make sense today? Because if not, there are other people in the box, and I'm going to drop you.
I'll try to make as
Your
much
mic is not working.
sense as I possibly can.
Is there a reason why you
Well,
were making? Why you were not making
make as
sense
much
yesterday?
sense as I possibly can. Typo.
Is there a reason why you were not making sense yesterday? Because you were not seeming lucid, and a lot of people in this chat were worried for your personal safety.
It's an ongoing mental typo. That's why I wasn't making sense.
Okay, well, if you're comfortable being up here and there's not a reason why you can't like state your views without like anything being wrong with that, then feel free to jump into the conversation. You can continue, Melody. I just
Okay.
wanted to address that because
Well, I guess
yesterday
I
was
want to say
interesting.
that it's a little. I guess I want to say that it's kind of a little unfair to say like, why does a legality change my mind? It actually is. Not only is it unfair, but it doesn't make sense. If in my head, this was a consensual thing because it was a transactional thing. He offered it to her and she had an option. And this is what I'm under the pretense of. But you pull up a law that tells me that actually she did not have an option because he should never proposition her in the first place. Duh, then right. Okay, why would I not think that? So the whole point of the legality coming into play, it does make sense because it adds the extra nuance to the situation that would make me understand how it wasn't a transactional situation and it wasn't a consensual situation. If you ask me my opinion, I would say it was transactional and consensual. But if you pull up a law that says that landlords are not able to do this, somebody sat around and lobbied for this because they feel like it's something that protect a person, that's a different thing then. That's a different thing because that's what the law stated. I can go to jail. I'm a regular citizen.
Let me expand this to just another scenario related to this same topic, right? It was legal for husbands to essay their wives within marriage, and it wasn't considered essay or grape. Does the legality of that change whether or not it was consent for the wives?
At that time, it was consent for the wives. That's what the law stated. Period. Just like at the time when kids were. What?
See, that's the problem. So that's where the disconnect is in the conversation then.
Listen, I'm not telling you if it's right or wrong. I'm telling y'all that it's law. What don't y'all get about that? I'm not telling you if it's right or wrong. I'm telling you that that's what the law states.
But
You're basing consent based solely on how the law.
Yeah, so that's
solely
what.
on what's legal.
Listen, what's legal, I have to stay within the legal limits or I'm going to go to jail for breaking the law, right?
No,
But that's
so
what
what we're
defines consent
saying
for
is-
you.
Like,
Well,
come on
yeah,
now.
and we're also saying that's why these conversations are important is because we need to talk about the legality of consent because once we start having these conversations, that's when we see change. And so if everyone were to just sit around and say, well, yeah, the law says that marital SA doesn't exist, so that's that, and then we just accepted that, we wouldn't be where we are today. So
That's fine, but you
why,
can't
in
get
your
me.
opinion-
You can't get me to say I can say marital SA is wrong, but it's still the law, and so it's still legal to do.
But
So
you
what
can
does
still, you're still allowed to say you don't think it's consent. You can still say that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
consent is not a
what we're
legal
trying to
thing.
do up here.
Consent is a moral thing. It's not like appealing to legalities. Like consent is not like consent. Like it's just kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word to say this, but like
But
it's
but
just
the reason
not.
why in the original prompt the consent and the whole thing is again is that he should have never. It was illegal for him to proposition her from the beginning, which means that the consent would be null and void simply off the fact that according to the housing law that he could not. It was illegal for him to do that in the first place. He was breaking the law and violating the law by approaching her in the first place. So obviously, yes, everything that follows after that, you're already breaking the law by even approaching this woman and offering her this. So you guys are saying like, well, how does that matter with consent and stuff like that? Well, he already approached her. So that right there was the illegal part of it in itself. So if it went further than that, and you guys are saying if she actually did it or she actually went and did it, that this is now coercion because he didn't have any a business approaching her in the first place. That's what I'm saying.
Melody, I do think it's inappropriate because there is like a power dynamic at play here.
But see, I didn't think that. I didn't think that correct,
But
and I didn't think that the power dynamic was there. He's her
But
landlord, but she didn't pay
I
her
would
rent. She wouldn't
like
have been in jeopardy in my head.
I would like Britt to have a chance to speak. Their hand has been up for a minute in the comments. Go ahead, Britt.
Thank you. So in just reading the prompt as it is, first I want to say that what he did is wrong, sketchy, deplorable, whatever. However, I do agree that, I believe that it is consent because if you just looking at the prompt, it says he offers to cover her rent and utilities for the next 3 months. That to me means she's not behind at this moment. He's offering to help her out in the future. At this point in time, even before we even got to you making the offer to me, because that is illegal, I've already reported you to HUD. I'm already reporting you. I mean, like this is something that has literally happened. I just read it in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where a landlord was doing exactly this, and he was reported, and he ended up having to pay out $140,000. So I don't feel like she only had the option of accepting his advance or homelessness because it is illegal. She should report him, and she has those protections because of the law.
Wait, but I have a question for you.
A lot of people, let's not wait, guys, wait. I want to ask you because this scenario is not speaking necessarily to legality. I'm asking if that is consent to you. So if you are the landlord and you're propositioning a woman like this, or a woman or a man, whichever you prefer in this scenario, would you take that as consent? If she is truly only consenting to you because she is worried about being evicted and she has all of this stuff going on in her personal life, do you view that as like freely given enthusiastic consent?
I would be, if I was him, I'd be fully aware that I was bribing her, and I think I would know that I'm wrong for that. But again, like I said, we can't pick and choose when to put legality in it. Is the fact of the matter is, if that happens to anybody,
so I'm not picking and choosing, right? I'm saying that we're discussing this in terms of like interpersonal relationships and our understanding of consent as individuals. The law does not carry out justice in regards to consent usually. It's fucked up, but it doesn't happen. That's why I believe it's important to have these interpersonal relationship type conversations. That's why I'm asking you for your personal opinion.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, because I feel like if she truly didn't have any other option, then yes, I feel like he may have coerced her into that. But because I feel like that's something you need to report, then you have another option right there. Whether you end up getting kicked out your house or not, like your option is you should report that man. Don't play into his bribery. And I also get what someone else was saying about how it's different if he was like, if you don't do this with me, then I'm not going to renew your lease, or I'm going to kick you out, because that's the same thing if a boss did that to you. That's retaliation. I mean, you report that stuff to HR or whatever, like, but it's something, even still with this, it doesn't say she's facing eviction. She's just worried about it. I've been in that situation before where I've lost my job. I got to worry about how am I going to pay next month's rent? Like, just because I'm worried about it doesn't mean that I'm have a writ filed on me. It doesn't mean that it's actually about to happen, but I can see her maybe trying to be proactive and prevent that. He's like, oh, I'm going to be straight for the next 3 months. If I do that, well, to me, that was her saying yes to that.
Well, but I have a question for you. Would you consider mental state an important part of consent?
Absolutely. That's the whole reason why I don't think you can consent when you're under the influence, because your mental's not there.
So what about like anxiety, stress, like I'm trying to think of other ones, like for example, like
PSD,
yeah,
depression.
yeah, like other things like that.
Ooh,
Like would those
mania would
also
be
be
an interesting one to argue there.
yeah.
Yeah, that one would.
But the reason why I ask this is because those also can be very contributing factors into like decision making. Like some people have fight or flight responses in those situations. So, for example, someone could be, for example, like I'll give myself as an example. I'm not a person who likes to upset people. I don't like to cause there to be issues, so I tend to deflect, or I tend to just kind of like go like, oh, okay, I'm here, because of like self-preservational like aspects. Um, and I don't know if I was in a dire situation that I would be able to consensually, if somebody were to ask me that, if I were to be able to consensually say that I wanted to like consensual, like obviously freely given, enthusiastic. It's not something that I would say that I would probably be doing it for. Like it would be more of fear of losing housing. And we also, now keep in mind this too, a lot of us on this panel didn't even know it was illegal. So who's to say that she wouldn't know it was illegal? Like she could have not even known that law even existed, because a lot of people clearly here didn't. So
I think that's such an important point you're pointing out, is that a lot of people don't know what their rights are as tenants. And there are even landlords that don't realize that they're infringing upon tenant rights. And like, as someone who is going through the process of learning what my tenant rights are because of landlords impeding on those rights, it took me having to seek out my husband's chain of command to get better understanding of what my tenants' rights are, and having it explained to me, because the way it's written is so vague and it's so hard to tell if your criteria meets that or not. And a lot of people don't even have access to a military chain of command, so they're going to have to dump money into like getting lawyer consultations and so on and so forth. Like not everyone knows where to go for that type of help, and not everyone has the means to access that help. That's actually a really good point. I lived in an apartment my first few years of college. My rent was really cheap. It was like $500 a month, maybe, with utilities and everything included. Pretty decent sized apartment, but it had a roach problem. I didn't know that until after I lived there for several months. And no matter how many times we called the apartment complex and how many times they sprayed, they never really got rid of the roach problem. I didn't know that this is like an issue that the health department can take care of, and your actual like university can provide you legal aid on your behalf to get to appropriate housing, and even take legal action against these landlords. I didn't know that until after I moved out.
So I guess I have to a response, because to be self-aware, I am coming into this. My opinion is based off of someone that I have a background in leasing. So it's like, even now, my rental office is always on some bullshit, some BS. They hate me because they always try to tell me things that aren't true. And I'm always able to be like, like, I know better than that. But I'm sorry. If this is a woman that has no knowledge of anything like that, then I can see how she was coerced into it, because she just didn't know any better. I mean, it kind of, it's like not related, but it just reminds me of the whole Lizzo thing and her dancers suing her and whatnot. And a lot of people are like, well, you didn't have to go to those sex shows. I'm sorry, those shows. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do that. But it was the power dynamic of, if I don't do this, my boss is gonna maybe fire me or whatever. So you know what I mean? Like, I can see it both ways. It really, I guess it just depends on that person, their knowledge, their state of mind, or whatever.
I could agree. I could back that up and agree with that. Not to say it like that because I'm very so I could agree with everything that everybody's saying. I wouldn't have, me personally, I wouldn't have took it that way because I wouldn't have took it as this person. He would have been a creep to me, but I wouldn't have took it in that way because I'm not the type of person that it wouldn't escape my mind that what he's doing is illegal, and I wouldn't be worried about it. I wouldn't be fearing for my life. She's been there 5 years. He's been hitting on her. She ain't left yet. So I personally wouldn't have. In my head, I just would have been like, okay, you're a weirdo, and I'm just gonna, mind my business and get my bills paid. But I understand how what you guys are saying is that, well, if somebody feels desperate, if they feel like this is their only option, and in their head, this is just all their option, that is a threat or that is a forceful situation for them. For me, it's not a forceful situation if he's not, coming into my home and he did not push up against me or he did not touch me in any sort of way. He just kind of propositioned me. Yeah, he's disgusting. I might have reported him or something like that, but I'm just going to get my money together and just pay my rent and be done with him.
But the thing is, when it comes to, one thing about that is that it's important because here's the thing. Nobody really teaches us in school about what consent is, so we don't have a grasp of what it is. We're kind of learning more about it as the time goes on. And the thing is that people will use situations like this to get away with very bad things. Like this could be a very slippery slope. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to make this comparison, but people could say the same thing about things that happen to children. Well, they knew that this was going to happen. Well, they had a choice. And when you start putting that, you're putting blame on the victim instead of blaming the perpetrator. You're giving them more leverage.
No, I think we were all agreeing that he was like a perpetrator. The breakdown came into the options, whether or not she had options, and you guys are making it clear that whatever, if she had these options, it didn't matter. It was a forceful situation, and it could have been viewed as a threat in a forceful situation in general. Even if she had other options or whatever the case may be, y'all are saying this was still force. It was still a threat, just simply off the fact of the matter that there was a power dynamic, and that's her landlord, and so that I get that part. I will give y'all that one.
But the consent part is important because if this were to go to a legal matter, they would try to say if this was consensual or not.
So, and this is my issue with this prompt is that nowhere in the prompt does it say she's behind on rent. So I automatically assume she's still making rent payments. She's just unsure where her next month's rent is going to come from. And that's where this dynamic, power dynamic and fear of retaliation really comes into play. Because if she says no, he can still try to find other reasons to evict her. And because she's made rent payments, that's what I'm assuming here. Because she's still maintaining those rent payments, he can find other reasons to try to evict her. We ran into that situation with our landlords. They started trying to nitpick as to certain things that we were doing within our house that weren't quote unquote within our lease, like having nails in the wall and just really mundane things. And so I can see her fear and feeling like if she says no, he's going to start targeting her and trying to find reasons to then evict her, thus putting her
she
in
said that he was also hitting on her for 5 years. So she's clearly been rejecting him for 5 years. She hasn't had a problem rejecting him for these 5 years that he's been hitting on her. So I understand with the vulnerable situation, you're saying that he knows that she's behind on rent. We don't know. Did she tell him that she don't have the money, or is she truly delinquent? Because like you said, the prompt itself doesn't do a really good job. I mean, it helps with the conversation of consent, but this particular going through the weeds of this, it's unclear as to a lot of different details as to what really happened. Did he know she was behind because she told him, or was she actually already currently in the rears with her rent, stuff like that? To me, all of that stuff, when you say that, when you say that, oh well, the landlord and he could retaliate after the fact. He's been hitting on her for 5 years, and she says this in a prompt. So why not just force her? Hey, if you don't sleep with me, it's been 2 years now. I've been chasing you. If you don't sleep with me, then you got to go.
I mean, I kind of would say that
I think that's kind of what's between the lines here.
No, because it says he's hitting on her for 5 years. And she's been rejecting him.
We
That's
are kind
really
of talking in circles, so I do want to know if you guys want to change up the scenario or not, or if you want to keep talking about this one.
I'd be okay with changing it.
Yeah, let's change it.
Brussels, I'm gonna drop. Thank you for having me.
Oh, okay. Have a good evening.
You too.
Nice.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. I think that one's really tricky. Let's see if I have another one that is. See,
Got all
this
these
one I feel
scenarios.
like it's more obvious. Yeah, I wrote them up because of like scenarios that men were giving on like other lives, talking about SA, and I was like, holy shit, maybe I should make these topics for discussion. So this is one I've actually heard. I don't know. So a woman receives explicit texts from a guy she's newly dating and plays along. When they meet, she feels uncomfortable in engaging in what was discussed over text. She expresses her concern, but he insists that she already agreed over text and she shouldn't be lame. Is that consent?
Nope.
That's him. You being a
Was
creep.
so they have the right to withdraw
So,
that. Right?
If he tells her that like she already agreed to it and she can't be lame because she already agreed to it, she goes through because he says that she already goes through with like she already agreed to it, she goes through with it. Do you think that's consent? Did that make sense? I kind of stuttered hard there.
It does go through with it because he called her a lame.
Yeah,
Because-
no, that's socially pressuring.
If she goes through with it because he said that she already agreed to it over text. He's just
Oh
calling her
no,
lame.
I have the right to revoke my consent. I don't care what all that. I be talking nasty over text. So what? I get in your face and go to sleep. I don't care.
That's why I said
So-
she has. Don't we have the right to change our mind about consent?
So do we all agree that this is not consensual?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yes,
I
yes,
agree.
Not consensual.
Okay, Riz Poppy, you were in here the other day saying some problematic shit. So Riz Poppy is a troll, guys. Ignore him. He will victim blame you. He will troll you. Just
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you want me to
surprised.
kick him?
Wait a minute. My mind is
no,
blown
he's
now.
fine. Just let him philander and not get the attention.
Hold
he
on,
wants.
y'all. My mind is blown now. So is that not consent if she screw him, or is it just coercion?
It's still not consent because there's
Isn't
like a
giving consent
manipulation
giving permission?
tactic.
Well, consent is it can
feel like
be
there's two
considered that.
Yeah,
but-
so I'm saying if she consents because he tells her that she already agreed to it. So she's doing this under the presumption that she has already agreed to it, so she has to go through with it. She cannot change her mind. Do you think that's consensual?
Okay,
You already answered it.
okay, dang it. Okay, no,
I don't know
I
if
still
peer
stand by my
pressure is
answer,
though.
but my brain is a little.
So
because
I want to explain this to you so you can kind of get a better grasp on this. So consent, not under duress, would be given freely and willingly. And because he's trying to guilt trip her or manipulate her, that's where the aspect of under duress comes from, because it's no longer being given freely and willingly. There's stipulations that are making her consent to it or not.
consent, or does she feel guilty? I mean, I don't care if I told you I did something via text message. I don't got to do it right here, right now. So what?
Exactly. That's where my issues are
So I
coming
guess
from as well.
and I'm not knocking you, Shirley. I mean, I'm glad that you guys are educating us on this consent thing because I do think this is a great topic. Thanks, Brussels. This is a great topic. But you see how do y'all understand what I'm saying in my head? Like, I think
yes, I do see what you're saying because you're going
consent-
off the idea that she says yes anyways. But what I'm saying to you is like her saying yes in this scenario is contingent upon the idea that he's telling her that she cannot revoke her consent because she already agreed over text.
Right, but is that true? Like, just because somebody you can tell me that I can't go outside. Like, is that true though?
Consensual. He's
So-
like basically
I
telling
totally
her
get what
that
you're
she can't
saying, but
revoke.
my problem sits with still like all he said is you're lame. Okay, fine, I'll sleep with you. That sounds
Yes.
ridiculous.
Right.
No. So this is the other thing. This is him trying to degrade her, right? Into
Yeah.
having sex with him. That's the other example
No,
here.
he's literally just being thirsty because she was talking all that shit in her text. Like,
But he's still
Yeah.
degrading though. He's still degrading.
Yeah,
her as a
so
person.
this
You get
name
degraded 'cause you
calling,
got called lame.
degrading.
Have to guilt someone or manipulate someone into sleeping with you. You are not getting their consent. You are forcing or tricking them into giving you consent because it's not fully informed.
You know what I would say to that? I would just say because just saying that she's lame is just too weak of an excuse. If you said like, oh, okay, they spend the next 20 minutes and he's constantly being rude to her or whatever and constantly going, oh, wow, I can't believe I did all this for a reason. It's a consistent thing. Okay, then yeah, I can see her being like severely pressured into the situation, but if just someone going, oh man, it's like Dora the Explorer and swiping, no swiping, and then you just go, oh man, and now, oh yeah, fine, you can have it and take it. That sounds nuts. The way it's written just doesn't.
Right, so you're fixated on the wrong part of this. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, he says that she shouldn't be lame. It's just kind of like what guys say, right? Like, you shouldn't be lame. Like, you already agreed over text. Like, don't be fake, things like that. But really, this idea, exactly. But this idea is that he's insisting that she cannot revoke her consent because she already agreed over text message. She's expressing that she's uncomfortable and concerned and does not want to engage in what they discussed over text. So she's not expressing consent. So if they go through with that,
Definition of
based on the
consent
idea,
when it relates to sex.
Now, what if he flew her out and she was scared that he was gonna put her out?
What was
say
that?
again?
I say, what if he paid for a flight for her to come out to see him, and she was scared that he was gonna put her out?
So you can't use Max as a commodity.
Because the
have you
notion
been
of
hanging out with the middle ground?
Huh?
Have you been hanging out with the middle ground? Just a question.
I have no idea what that is, so no.
Okay. No, it's another person that hosts lives that this scenario actually came from something that was said in his live. The scenario in his live was, if you fly a woman out and she refuses to have sex with you, is it okay to kick her out and like not buy her a flight home or something along those lines?
I think he even went so far to say that he wasn't direct in telling her that that was the intention either.
Yeah, no. It's like you fly. He's flying this girl out. She gets there. He proposes smacks. When she declines, he sends you home with like no flight, no return flight. If you have smacks with him, you'll get a return flight. But he doesn't say this beforehand.
So I don't know who that guy is, but I was trying to make the situation more intense than somebody saying, "Oh, you're lame," right? Like in this situation, you might really be under duress because you might really be scared that you may be somewhere for a certain amount of days without anywhere to live.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's why I
got a question about
scenario. This
So
is
I have
just a little less extreme. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, so I have a question about, so the term consent, because I think this is an interesting conversation, honestly, truly. I'm a nerd, y'all. I love to learn new things. I don't get offended if somebody like proves me. I like that kind of stuff. So, okay, when I look up the definition, so is there a different definition of consent as it relates to sex, or
yes? So when we're talking about consent in terms of smacks, we're talking that it has to be freely given, revocable, informed, enthusiastic, and specific.
And this where is this?
These are like characteristics of consent as it refers to like in sexual intercourse or any sexual activity, because any sexual activity that occurs without consent is an act of sexual violence, right? But there are certain scenarios that might make consent look quote unquote gray, right? So those characteristics kind of unmuddy the waters.
Yeah, because when you look up consent, and I think this is where people get confused at, like this is where we have these nuance, like we have this new like age of information that's not yet like confirmed anywhere. Because when you look up consent, right, it says like agreement. It literally says consent, permission for something to happen, or agreement to do something. And it does say, consenting, permission, agree to, assent to, give permission for, accept. But the issue I think with consent is that what we're saying is that when it comes to the activity of sex, this isn't truly about you just giving permission. If there's other factors, if he called you lame and made you feel like you needed to do it and you did it, then now it's not consensual.
but like think about the word like
Information
freely.
that's missing from the context of consent in my head, I guess.
I feel like you are getting what I'm trying to get at by having these conversations since you've been up here, Melody. So I actually really appreciate you continuing to engage in this.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
can
I'm a very genuine person. I don't be meaning no harm. I really, try to learn.
So
something I just really want to quickly point out is that these like consent applications or like aspects of consent is not strictly just for SMECs. It also applies within giving consent to your medical doctor and having procedures performed on you, giving consent to a school or to a daycare provider. Like, there's so many ways that we use consent on a daily basis, and they're still applicable in all these different aspects.
But like,
So then-
can I add
So
something
then
real
what
quick?
you're saying, hold on, can I just come in here real quick? Because
Yeah, go
what you're saying then is, as long as, so what I'm understanding is that she was chatting, texting with a guy, and, explicit. So obviously they're talking about having SMEC. And so she's already consented through text. So in the legal law system, if there is consent that is in written form, then that is consent, even
No,
No,
because
no,
consent
at
can be
any given
revoked.
prove beyond a reasonable doubt. You cannot prove
No,
beyond a
because
reasonable
consent
doubt
can be
that she didn't give
revoked.
consent
Consent
if
can
she
be
gave
revoked.
consent.
So
No, but consent
Stevie,
can be
give me a
revoked.
second.
So that's what we're
Give
talking
me a
about.
second,
And
Lorraine.
go ahead,
Stevie.
sorry.
So we're talking about this in terms of like an interpersonal aspect. We're not talking about appealing to legality, because then you get into this weird grape apologist rhetoric where people are saying, yes, it's wrong, but it's not technically grape, so I could do it if I wanted to. And that's really weird.
Well,
I
but
think
here's the
that's
thing, though.
But it's
Actually,
okay
I will
for
say this
women to
one thing,
take advantage
Russell.
of men and get money
It
and
is not.
finances.
so
Wait, but
no,
Russell, I
listen for a
want
Nobody's
to.
second.
saying that.
I
So
want to.
Yeah,
Marky,
nobody's
I
saying
want to
that.
let
So if you
Lorraine go, and then Marky, you go, and then Stevie, you can rebuttal to us.
Marky, I'm gonna be really quick. And this is for really anyone here, but Stevie, it sounds like this might be beneficial to you, and I don't even mean that in a sarcastic way. There's a video, there are lots of videos out there like this, but there's a video called Consent T, and it just takes 2 stick figures and it breaks down consent using T. So it uses different examples. Like if you offer to make your friend tea and then they say yes, and you give them the tea and they say, never mind, I don't want tea, you're not going to force feed them tea. If your friend is really, really, heavily under the influence and they say they want tea, but they can't drink the tea, you're not going to force feed them tea. If your friend says they don't want tea, you're not going to force feed them tea. That's how those videos go. And I feel like that just makes consent so black and white. So if someone says they want to do something and then they're about to do it, or they're in the middle of doing it and they say stop, you stop. That's consent. It's very simple.
Well, I would disagree, because you in that term, in this case, you said force. You said force, like nobody's going to force them to take tea. But when we're talking about the scenario that you guys mentioned, you're saying that the force came from the fact that he was shaming her and just like using his words to say, "Oh, wow, you're acting lame."
Oh,
Hold
so
on.
no. Melody,
Wait, but I
let's not
also
get
I was
confused.
just summarizing. There are a bunch of videos out there. I was just throwing out a few examples of what's in those videos. So there's lots of videos that will cover stuff like what we're talking about, Melody. I was just throwing out some examples. You'd have to look into them, but there are just lots of like great little videos out there about like this, or like the examples I was talking about, but those are just a few. That's not everything.
I will. Thank you.
So these are meant to be kind of tricky, right? So the issue here is he's telling her that she cannot revoke her consent. The other issue is that he is degrading her. The issue is not like just because he calls her a lame
But how can he tell her that she can't revoke her consent? That's the part I'm confused. Like,
men think that way. Don't ask me.
Oh, trust me, they do. Oh, trust me, they do.
That's exactly why I keep the pump in the trunk. That's why I keep the pump in the trunk.
One thing I wanted to
I am the master of the clit. Remember this fucking face. Wherever you see clit, you'll see this fucking face. I make that shit work. No one rules a clit like me. Not this little fuck. None of you little fucks out there. I am the clit commander. When it comes down to business, this is what I do. I pinch her like this. Oh, you little fuck. And I rub my nose.
Awesome. Knock him dead, Tiger.
Bobby, honey,
What do you know about sexual relations?
I don't know. Nothing much. I'm a little worried about being a slut.
Yeah. 1278. Wait, what happened? 1278. I ain't even ordered yet, big bro. 1278. Pull to the window. Well, let me get a double Western bacon cheese. Yes. A double Western bacon cheeseburger, extra barbecue sauce with 3 tenders, 2 ranch, and 2 barbecue sauces. Why are you playing Trail Demetrius Jefferson Lopez? Well, damn, baby. How you know it's me? You the only that comes to my drive-thru saying, "You're at 2:55 p.m." And I can smell that cheap-ass roast cologne.
You ugly and your breath stink, your credit all fucked up, your pussy smell like a fish tank. You done lost your edges, your wig sitting this way, your head sitting that way. You look like a hoe that used to be on Backpage. Every time I wake up to you, it be a sad day. Every time I wake up to you, I have a bad day. One time I fucked you, I thought it was my last day. Thank God the doctor told me that I'd be okay.
You're awful. Me? I'm awful? Oh yeah, how am I awful?
Playing my video. Inviting me on the show. You just wanted to make fun of me.
You're just like the rest of them. You don't know the first thing about me, pal. Look what happened because of what you did, what it led to. There were riots out there. 2 policemen are in critical condition. You're laughing. You're laughing. Someone was killed today because of what you did.
I know. How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with your
loner
jokes.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like
It's
trash.
all the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
All the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
I don't think he did until I pointed out that my Second Amendment rights were helping protect his First Amendment rights to come up and question me.
What? Yo, see, there's a motto here. Your job is just to piss them off, get them talking, arguing, and getting all their friends involved. Y'all can take it how you want it, getting gay and mad. It's all about ideas, and the good always outweigh the bad. Raise the flag, homie, take some fucking pride in that. We hate this fucking government, and ain't nobody hide that fact. It's a symbol of the freedom that they taking from your patriots, accustomed to the darkness they've been fading unto. From Lima to Cleveland, back to Toledo, these jokers, Heath Ledgers, you faggots is Jared Leto. Me amigos, all Devos, shoulders got Doritos, hot Cheetos, Fritos, and those big ass bags of Tostitos. It's a party, y'all. Don't mind a little argument. We're all adults, it ain't no reputation tarnishing. Hypnotizing bitches like the slow jam bad. It's safety for no man, it's no man's land. We ain't dealing with your bullshit. Operator, hop out in a full kit. Got them things that go bang, ain't never out of range. Y'all should probably let me do my thing. Hot dang, yep, we ain't really dealing with your bullshit. Operator, hop out in a full kit. Got them things that go bang, ain't never out of range. Y'all should probably let me do my thing. Hot dang.
Everybody should have the right to come out, be happy, and live their life, man, without fear of being, harassed, assaulted, or thrown in.